Hello and welcome! I'm so glad you made it. Guess who's made it with me? The lovely and fantastic Spence. Woohoo! Yay, yay, yay! And then you know him. I love him. It's my technical producer. It just happens to be my baby brother, Tom. Yay! Everybody's here. Robert is unfortunately not feeling well right now. So we're sending him all the love and good vibes. And, you know, maybe some like thought chicken soup. Is that a thing? Anyway, I'm gonna imagine chicken soup for him. My special chicken soup. Anyhow, so here we are. And it's a lovely day. And hopefully everybody survived Christmas. Did you, in fact, survive Christmas? Is Christmas ongoing for you? I know that for some people it's still going.
At least 12 days.
You did survive, or is it still ongoing for you, Spence?
Both. We have had the bulk of the Christmas stuff happen already, but we have a friend party Wednesday, and then we technically observe it until the 5th. So I still have stuff to wrap.
Yes, I will. If I may confess, I feel like Christmas is definitely still going on. So I still have time to actually address and mail Christmas cards. So guess what? Some of y'all are probably not going to get my Christmas card until the middle of January, but it counts, damn it. I know you love me enough to let it count, okay? So
very much in the same boat for that one.
Right? Of like, I have the cards. I've got, I think, most people's addresses. There is still time to give me your address if I don't already have it, folks. And because that is like one of my goals this week is to at least start addressing. I will get them mailed. Just put them up next year. Pretend like that you got it on time. But like part of that for me letting go of perfectionism is not getting hung up of, oh, I couldn't get it out before Christmas, so I'm not even going to try. It's like part of me like proving to myself that I'm not in that perfectionist trap is going by that good, better, best philosophy of, look, it's still Christmas. People are still happy to know that they are loved and appreciated. Also, look at my cute little cards. Hi, Jules. I still have leftover candy, so it's technically ongoing, right? Do you know how much candy Tom left for me? Carrie says Christmas is ongoing. Mother-in-law's quarantine ends tomorrow, so we are doing gifts with them on Saturday. That is fantastic. Here is my sack of Christmas chocolate that Tom gave me.
Ooh.
I have put a dent in this, so there is less in here than there was 2 days ago, just for the record. So there's bars that I have put a serious dent in. There's a bunch. And a friend of mine said that she's going to drop off more. She found more of I love lint. Can you tell I love lint? Partly because they don't use red 40 in their chocolate, unlike Ghirardelli, who can go to hell. So,
wait, what?
Yeah, Ghirardelli, like their peppermint stuff, has red 40 in it.
Okay, so be like they put red 40 in their chocolate.
Like
that is some shady.
Y'all, I'm going to tell you right now. If you see a red 40 as an ingredient in your food, and it's like kind of like a simple food, like chocolate pudding, stay away. They're using red 40 to obscure that there's less chocolate or cocoa powder in it. So be wary when red 40 is in it. Like Pillsbury puts red 40 in their white frosting. Again, be wary because it's an indicator of poor quality ingredients. So I'm just saying that. So yeah, Lindt doesn't ever use red 40, even in their peppermint Lindt truffles, which I love because they've got crushed up peppermint bits in them. There's no red 40 in that, y'all. But we couldn't find any, and I'm hoping my friend who works at Target found like a secret bag in the back of the warehouse. We'll see. Yes. So Carrie's like, ooh, yes, I love lint. So
my Mr. Spence, his favorite holiday candy is the Celis chocolate covered cherries. Queen Anne's is garbage.
Yes, I agree about Queen Anne's.
So our friend Josh bought him 10 to 15 boxes, literally cleared out Walmart and wrapped them up for him.
Did you know you can make your own cherry cordial, chocolate covered cherry cordials?
I did know that, and I don't want to know how because I cannot be bothered.
It is actually surprisingly easy, but you need time to make them that beautiful liquid oozy goodness, because you make a sort of putty out of sugar and you wrap your, like your cherry in that, and then you dip it in chocolate, and then you have to set it aside for I think it's 6 to 8 weeks. And there's a process that essentially happens where the liquid in the cherry starts dissolving the sugar it's been enrobed in. And that's where you get that lovely syrupy goodness. So, yeah, it is amazing. But yeah, that is how people used to do it. They would put up it in their attic in fall and then bring it down for Christmas. And that is why it is a Christmas tradition. Because I used to have a serious addiction to those cherry cordials, those chocolate covered cherry cordials, until, the whole Red 40 issue. And so then, yeah, I looked up, how do I make these? Because I miss it. And I have made them, and they're amazing. So, speaking of, how is everybody's weather? Meg and I were literally having a 10, 15-minute discussion about weather. Because I think it was, 76 or 78 degrees on Christmas Day here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost 50 here for Christmas Day, and it is just dreary and sad outside.
I love dreary and sad winters, though. Because Joe March loved them. And I was a huge drama queen.
I have the easiest way to describe the cloud coverage the last couple days.
What's that?
Straight up Simpsons intro. There's white clouds, the high cirrus clouds, and then storm clouds that never drop.
They never drop. Yeah, it's infuriating. Carrie says 44 degrees and gloomy. I do love moody weather, I will admit. Right. Yeah, Megan was telling me it's 54 or something like that in her neck of the woods, and she's got fuzzy socks on. I'm just yes. Carrie says, I'm in the same boat, Glory, and according to the Catholic Church, the Christmas season ends on Epiphany. Yeah, which is, I think it's January 6th or 7th or something. Yeah.
It's the 6th.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And I'm look, it's not trashy to leave anything up till at least a week after Epiphany, minimum.
Mm-hmm. I usually leave it up until Epiphany because one of my friends is much more in tune with the, we both grew up going to the same church, but he still goes. So he brings me cake and booze on Epiphany.
Nice. Megan says, my Christmas cards still haven't arrived at everyone's house yet, so I don't consider Christmas to be over. Exactly, my darlings. It's not over yet. Okay? You'll get y'all's probably mid-January, and just know that it'll be a lovely, sweet little finish. That's what it'll be. Hello. Hi, Amanda. Yes, I agree. Tom did do good. Yes. Carrie, Megan got hers, so you can mark her down. Hi, Chandra. Chandra says, I've taken my Christmas tree down in April, not to brag or anything. Yes, our family too. I remember a distinct conversation in my childhood about my parents going, exactly when will we actually take this tree down? Spoiler, it was artificial. And I don't think it came down that year. I don't think it came down till April, because someone came in the house on April 1st and was like, oh, is it April Fool's joke? And our parents were mortified and finally took it down. Yeah, for real. And we thought
Christmas lights.
Yeah, we thought that would be the latest. Our whole family agreed this will be the latest we've ever done it. It'll be a record in our family. And then it wasn't, 3 years later that the tree didn't come down till July. And only because of our little sister's birthday party that
Yeah.
it was like, no, people will come in this house and they will see it and they will know. And it's the only reason why the tree came down. So, because like my parents literally debated, should we just plan to move to another town before her birthday next year? And that way, people won't know that we once did this. And like they actually debated, could they find jobs in another part of the state? Like there just wasn't enough executive function to go around in our house.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, Tom has refused to allow me to take down our Christmas tree now for 3-4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So it's decorated for all year. So whenever I have a decoration from a different holiday, like something little, because it's a little mini tree, I just put it on the tree. It goes with it now.
We get real trees, so I have to take it down at a certain point because it becomes Especially this year, I'm probably gonna have to take it down before Epiphany because I found out about a week before Christmas that our Christmas tree base had cracked. So
it's dripping.
The whole situation is more than a little janky right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got our apartment's tiny as hell. And we have a very tiny little tree that I put on top of a cedar chest that is an antique from my grandma thing. So there's like the cedar chest, a blanket, the Christmas tree stand, which is this big, for the Christmas tree base, which is this big. So it was barely in there to begin with. And then I watered it and realized it was leaking. And I'm home alone. Like my husband is not home because he would not have let me do this. Go to the kitchen and get a spare pie plate because I have 80. And scoot it over and like wedge it underneath the Christmas tree so it stops leaking and it can hold some amount of water. And then I stand back and I notice the Christmas tree is now like this. So I rush over to the donation pile and pull out a bit of old yarn. And so now it's tied to the wall and a command hook. So there's just like this black thread holding the Christmas tree at this angle. They'll never. It's like, oh, it's you can tell. So it's got to come down sooner rather than later, but it worked for the holiday. Which is all I needed.
Right? It's back to that good, better, best idea.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get much further, Spence, would you like to do an intro? Again, totally optional.
I don't do intros or outros.
All right. That's fine. I assume Tom also feels the same way again. But hey, y'all, did you know Spence and Tom's links are down below? At least it's the one link I could find for Spence. I got to be honest. She has admitted to another link, so I'm going to put her Twitter link in there soon.
Like, I technically have like 3 things that have content like backlogged on them, but
yes, so I will work on improving my link collection for Spence.
And I will start talking about where my things are when I start doing them again.
Mood. I feel very similarly, actually. But yes, also my links are down below too. Did you know Tom has a Vela story? It's even more popular than mine. It is essentially he is alpha testing on Vela. He is alpha testing this story on Vela. And if I'm brutally honest, I am at the very least beta testing mine. Tom is it time travel or is it interdimensional travel? It's more like multiverse. Yeah, it's multiverse travel. The characters are traveling through different worlds where their counterparts already exist. And it is about siblings. So, hey, y'all. If you're here, you might be like the right kind of reader. I'm throwing it out there. Mine is just about like very hungry storytelling brownies. These are not the edible kind. These are the humanoid kind. I've gotten that mistake a bunch now lately. I don't know why some of y'all don't know that brownies have a hallowed tradition in human history. Not just in Europe, by the way. Brownies, little people, like little people, not like little people.
Like we're talking borrower sized.
Like borrower-sized people who borrow things, like when your stuff goes missing, exist in almost every single culture in the world. Sometimes they're supposed to be good, sometimes they're evil, sometimes they're neutral. Like that does depend on the culture, but little borrower people, you know, no taller than a G.I. Joe doll, exist in almost every human culture that's ever existed, at least that ever did print anyway. Well, even the ones that didn't, actually, because a lot of African traditions are oral, and we know that they've had stories about little borrower people for thousands of years. So I'm just saying, I don't know why some of y'all don't know about the borrower people.
Obviously, because they never watched Willow or the cartoon series, The Borrowers,
or the book series.
Or
I
the
mean,
book.
There's so many. The Borrowers are probably my favorite fictional creation ever. I love them
too
so much. There's like the not Andrew Lee Potts on the the BBC version, and then there is the 1995 version, which is so good. Like, just a great transition into the actual topic because I dream for my life aesthetic to be that movie.
Oh, see, I always like the borrower type people concept because it definitely, as somebody with ADHD, it definitely helps console me when I can't find things. I'm like, the borrower people have moved it again. Why are y'all doing this to me? Yeah, and, you know, inevitably it'll show back up, right? Because, but then sometimes things are where I need them to be, and that's not their normal home. And again, the borrower people left that for me. They knew I'd need it. Mm-hmm. So I kind of suspect that may actually be some of where this, concept of little borrower people, maybe why they keep showing up in pretty much almost every single culture ever. It's because there's always some people with ADHD are like, where did it go? I swear I left it right here. The borrowers took it. Yep.
The borrowers on my phone, I swear.
Well, so in my world, the borrower type people, the brownies, also borrow stories. And they're telling stories to these two people who have forgotten that they're elemental creatures and who've started living normal human lives. And these borrower people, these brownies, are telling them stories of themselves to remind them of who they really are and what their mission really is. And they were sent there by someone else. And you find out all of that within the first few episodes. So I'm not saying it's for children's story, but I'm just saying maybe it's for the child at heart. Anyway. So yes, everybody's links are down below. Spence's links will continue to improve as I continue to maybe do some gentle, friendly stalking and find out more of her secret links. And here we are today to talk about style and being fabulous. Okay, first off, you're already fabulous, Jules. There is nothing to improve upon there, my darling. Style is just a way to show how you feel on the inside on your outside and in your environment. That is really it. And again, I want to point out, this is my philosophy. Tom's going to talk about his style philosophy. I assume Spence is also going to discuss her style philosophies. These are just our philosophies. If you disagree, that's fine. Nobody has to live by anyone else's style philosophies. But obviously these are our philosophies because these work for us. This is what we found over our many years, nay decades of experience. These philosophies work for us. So perhaps your style philosophy is a little different. We'd love to hear about it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it in the chat. Let us know. But just also remember, it's sort of like a buffet. You just pick and choose what works for you and you put it on your plate, and take it to your life. That's all. So here we are to discuss style. And Tom and I talked a lot in the past week or so about what are we even going to talk about, Tom? What can we possibly talk about? And what we kept coming back to as we discussed this, like almost every day, is that we definitely wanted to share our experiences on how to make it easier to express one's personal style, where it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like, oh, every time I want to show who I am, I have to like start from scratch. I mean, that is exhausting. Ain't nobody got time for that. Or at least ain't nobody got the energy for that. If you have the energy for it, it may be time to start like a charity or something and build people homes. When you got that kind of energy, you know, Habitat for Humanity needs your energy. I'm going to say that right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, versus, you know, for those of us with ADD and ADHD, you can't be having to concentrate and think that much about how to dress yourself just for the day. It takes up too many spoons.
I think the best thing you can do when you're starting to really starting to figure out your style and how you want to present yourself to the world is get your ass a capsule wardrobe. Start there. A capsule wardrobe is like 10 to 20 pieces that all just work together. You put on something that goes on your top, you put on something that covers your butt, and it works no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, I mean, when you start looking into what those are, you see a lot of neutrals. Just boring as heck. So as soon as what part of building a capsule wardrobe is pick a color palette you like. That is, I think, the biggest thing is decide what colors you want to wear on a regular basis. And like get swatches, get paint chips. Like get paint chips if you're a shopper, or get like a fabric Bible if you're a sewer.
So, since Spence has brought up in part one of the things that Tom definitely wanted to talk about, which is, so I had known about capsule wardrobe concept since I was a kid. It was very big in the 80s. However, I never liked the colors they would show in the books. It would be like black, camel, and white, and maybe red. And with these 4 colors and gold jewelry. And I just was like, I don't like camel that much. It's so beige, right? It didn't work for me.
Have you considered taupe?
No, not taupe. Taupe haunts me to this day. Anyway.
I feel that way about brown.
Yes.
Brown and purple.
So my issue with the capsule wardrobe suggestions in the books from the 80s and early to mid 90s, which I'm sure you can still find at any of y'all's public libraries, because those books keep getting checked out. They're not getting rid of them, and they have not been updated either. So what I found is essentially a variation on that, is the idea of the color wheel theory. So what it is you figure out your own coloring, what works for your coloring. And there's, depending on which theory, there's like a minimum of, I think, 12 and a maximum of, I don't know, maybe it's 24 or something. I've lost count. So they'll do like season, and then it'll be like which version. There'll be at least three options within each season. Apparently my color wheel, if you will, turned out to be one of the hardest to diagnose. It took me 2 months. And in the meantime, I was like, Tom, let me practice on you. Because that's why it took me so long, was I am a bright winter. And it took me so long because it is a very difficult one to figure out. But once you do figure out your color wheel, for instance, this is mine. I look at these when I'm buying clothes, And as long as they are within this palette, all of them go together.
Mm-hmm.
So I essentially do have a capsule wardrobe, but it's a more deconstructed idea of a capsule wardrobe in that it's not 2 to 4 colors only.
Much more dynamic.
It's more dynamic. It's anything within this, they'll all work together. And if you look, these colors really do harmonize well with each other. Anything within that pretty much works.
And that's the beauty of them. You don't have to think about it. No matter how diverse, whether it's, a pale pastel or a very dark forest green, you can still combine them. They'll be fine. They still will look competent together. Like that's the real trick to it, is they're already pre-matched. It doesn't matter what form they're in.
For me, I opted with even simpler and more specific. I decided I only wanted to wear the primary colors. I have a not lose my needle, but let's remember that I put it in the bag. I have a light and dark of the primaries, a pastel and a bright version of it. It does not, I don't really subscribe to the personal color thing. I think that is more marketing than actually effective for the majority of people. It's more just picking stuff you like. If you like it, it will look good on you.
Well, one of the things that really helped us figure out eventually, how to figure out what each of our color sets were, our color palettes, was we were reading someone else who had, done as their senior project, their own color palette and everything. And they noted, and they were, I think wasn't it a guy, I want to say, who it had started because of their freshman year, a teacher had commented asked why had they looked so sickly, the previous week. And they're like, I was doing fine. What are you talking about? And we eventually figured out it was because of wearing colors that are not good for him. And so eventually we found out so the stuff that's, in your actual color set makes you look alive. That's why people like it, is you look very happy, you look very vibrant, you look happy. The ones that are not will actually suck the color out of your skin and you will look gray or green. Either one kind of makes you look a bit ill.
Or even really ruddy in an unpleasant or painful looking appearance.
And so after we heard
they
that,
don't look healthy.
Yeah. And so eventually after finding that out, we just got all the solid colors I had for all of my stuff. And we literally just hold it up under me.
Well, in natural light, it helps to do a natural light because
you see how it's already compensated.
Yeah. Yeah. Notice so that is one of the issues, is with your light source, it can give a color cast to your skin versus if you go outside, you're a natural light, which is full spectrum light. So if you have a full spectrum bulbs in your house, particularly in one room, that's fine to do. But if you don't, keep in mind that color cast is going to kind of change the color perception of your skin. Because you're really trying to first identify the colors that make you look gray, like your skin gray. And we did eventually find, I don't know where those are because we got rid of those tops for Tom. Because why would you keep something that makes you look gray? That's, makes your skin look gray.
But you can see with this one, as long as I don't hold it up where the camera sees it. But you see how all of a sudden I'll turn green just in reflection?
So So it does explain like where I would come up with why is it sometimes when I try on clothes I look sickly. And I was doing this research because I just wanted it to be easier to be able to buy clothes online, since as a plus size woman it's so hard to find clothes in town in my size. Also, I have very short inseam on my legs, even though I am slightly taller than the average woman. I'm 5'6". I have a 27-inch inseam.
You're built like my dad.
Yeah, I'm all body. I'm all torso and like tiny little legs. Because petite is sometimes 28 to 31 inches inseam, which I'm like, what? How is a 5'4" woman have a 31 inches? Anyway,
it's like how I want to know.
How is that a thing? But anyway, so I was trying to look for an easier way to buy clothes online. And so I figured, okay, well, maybe if I figure out what are my colors, then I won't keep buying clothes online that look good. And then when I put them on, I look sickly and have to mail them back. Because with the ADHD, the mailing them back is the hard part.
Oh yeah, I've never returned anything in the mail. Like that's it. If it gets mailed to you, it's just yours now.
It's part of what actually worked well for what was it you could return in store? You used to have me go drop at some women's, clothing store all the time.
Oh yeah, Catherine's. You could just drop it off instead of mail it back. Also, I didn't have to pay for shipping that way. They've since closed that Catherine's in town. I'm so salty. Anyway,
I probably come at it with the color thing from a slightly less than fair perspective, because everyone in my family has always been very artistically inclined, and so color has always been something I am hyper aware of.
Here, I could take away the display so that people can see more of the color. There, Tom. So, yeah. Like, that was my issue and why I was researching this in the first place. And then it said, in this particular person where they were talking about the colors you like tend to be the ones that you look good in. But here's the problem. I love all color. I just love color. It makes me feel happy. Color is like a party. I love color. I love all colors, but I don't look good in all colors because I do not have the olive tones of the rest of my family. And that was a real problem because you get hand-me-downs. You get other people's, cast-offs. And why is it so many of the clothes my family gives me, I look like, oh, are you that kind of sick? Do we need to start a fundraiser? Like, y'all, you think I'm kidding? I have literally been asked if there was a fundraiser for my medical appointments at least 6 times in my life. I have not been asked this since I actually figured out my color wheel, though. But anyhow, and it was because of the things I was wearing, and I looked sickly, even if, like, the shape of it and the cut of it, everything else was perfect. It just didn't look right on me because I don't have these lovely olive tones that my mother, my brother, and my sister have. It's a real issue. So that's where the problem was coming from for me. I'm not saying it's true for everyone, especially if you have a more neutral skin tone to start with. You probably will look good, especially if you have like a very light olive tone, but with some blue under your skin, you probably look good in just about everything. And to that, I say, yay, you are one of the few blessed, and I applaud you, and I am not. So if you ever had problems where you put something on in the changing room and you're like, why do I suddenly look sick or gross or a zombie or a vampire? All of these things have happened to me so many times. That doing a little color theory research for yourself may be helpful. And it makes getting dressed in the daytime, or well, anytime really, it makes getting dressed so much easier because all the colors go together. So it does take out just a lot of the, like, what kind of colors go together. I don't want to clash. It just takes out a lot of the guesswork. Even if you're not interested in what is my actual color palette, it's really lovely to see, okay, what kind of colors go together? Somebody else has done all of this research. Here you go.
It helps for those times when they're working in the neighborhood and they have no power in your house. So you literally have
This has
to go
happened so many
fill up
times
it
to
blind.
us, where you still have to show up to work, but you got to go get dressed in the dark.
And you don't want anyone to ask you that question.
Like, did you get dressed in the dark? Well, yes, I did.
Actually, no, they didn't believe you. They're like, hey, you look great today. Thanks, I had to get dressed in the dark. And like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, this happened after like I had figured out and we both purged our closets. What we found out, by the way, funny side story. What we found out when Tom and I both figured out our color palettes is that we both had clothes that really were not in our color palettes, but still fit the other one. So Tom ended up with some of my tops and I ended up with some of his tops. And if I do say so myself, I look fabulous. And Tom looks great in my tops. I think that shirt you're wearing actually may be one of my former shirts that I was like, here you go, buddy. Since I love that sort of pine green color, but when it's not broken up with other colors, it does not portray my assets favorably.
Yeah, like that top works well in Glory, mostly because the purple.
As well as the silver also helps. And the brightness. Just having jewel tones, that's part of like my color palette is bright winter. So pretty much anything that's a jewel tone, even a yellow jewel tone or a bright color, still looks better with me than like say a muted yellow based color or like for instance that pine green. It's just how it is. It's just my skin.
But it also helps the online shopping a lot because it's like
it does.
That's not going to work. I've already checked. Those are not part of the color sets.
Mm-hmm.
But once you find them, then as we talked about, go get yourself some swatches or some paint chips, so you always know this is what works.
Paint chips are free, swatches are not. My swatches cost my swatch card, which has like I love opening it. This was $50. I found a fabric I like, and it has 365 colors on it, and it cost me $50, and I love it. It was a very good time.
Very nice.
But paint chips are free.
Hi, Zara. So I would say figure out your colors. Period. Whatever, even if it's 4 colors. By the way, I didn't find out till like deep into my research when they're talking about color palettes, they are not talking about what you wear on your bottoms unless your legs will show, like your skin. So shorts or short skirts. So I mostly wear slacks. They're like any color, it doesn't matter. Because it's, the real idea of color theory has to do with skin tone. It doesn't have to do with anything else. So yeah, for the most part, my work clothes, it's all black trousers, black slacks. That's what I used to wear. Because it would go with any of the colors in my color palette. And that's what I did. It made my life easier.
It's mostly about how to make your face look the prettiest it can look.
Yes. Yeah. Especially since I wasn't wearing foundation. If you wear foundation whenever you go out, it's not really as much of an issue because your skin is obscured with makeup. But I wasn't wearing any foundation. I would wear eye color and lip color, sure, but I wasn't wearing foundation. And so, yes, I was looking a little bit chameleon-like, depending on if I was wearing the right colors or not. And the reason why colors like that pine green, it's too much yellow base. And I don't have enough yellow to look good in it is the problem. Like there's not enough yellow or green in the undertones of my skin. Which is why, while I love gold jewelry, I cannot wear like deep yellowy golds. It really does look sickly on me. I can wear the paler gold jewelry and silver jewelry and platinum. That's fine. But again, it did help explain a lot of these little mysteries of why is it sometimes when I put on certain like gold necklaces, gold earrings, it's like, ooh, that doesn't look quite right. What is that about? It solved these mysteries for me. As somebody who's both very pale and has an incredible amount of blue underneath the pale. My skin tone color is blood.
Or, roses and cream, as they like to say.
Well, where our family's genetically from, I think they call it blood and milk.
Yeah.
Yes, there I'd blend in with my blood and milk skin complexion. Zara says, I can't do yellow.
Sorry.
But I wear gold, silver, rose gold, etc. Yeah, like I could wear rose gold because it's got a bit more of that blue undertone or that pink undertone in it. But there is a very yellow type of gold that's like, yeah, no. I think it's like with copper in it. I think it's when they temper the gold with copper. She says, my skin can't decide its undertone, cool or warm, depending on lighting. Yeah, that would probably indicate more of a neutral.
But yeah, we were just talking about, finding your, color palette.
For
Y'all just can't deal with it. Really, Eva? That's right. I always want to look pretty. You've caught me. Finally, the truth is out. I don't like looking in the mirror going, ugh. Who the hell is she? And why did they let her out of her cage? You're absolutely right. I am shallow. Here is my confession. I'm a little bit of a shallow mallow about myself. I like looking pretty in the mirror. Because again, part of my style is that I want my inside to be reflected in my outside. I want how I feel on the inside to display on the outside. So, and I feel like a party, confetti, and everything on the inside most of the time. At least when I'm around other people.
Frick. I am currently working on a bright pink skirt, and I am doing some hand stitching, and my thread just snapped. Because I think I'm using vintage thread.
I was about to say, who is this terrible thread maker? But time, oxidation will do that as well. Humidity.
Yeah, it's a wooden spool.
It's been a little while.
That is how old this is. Coates and Clark, 29 cents.
Isn't Coates and Clark now $1.89 minimum?
Yeah.
Per spool?
I'd say 29 cents puts it somewhere in the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I think this was out of my grandma's stash from when she passed and my mom got it. And then my mom moved, and now this is all mine. Because I don't like to shop for clothes. I like to shop, but not for clothes.
I mean, I don't love shopping, but I like having clothes that that fit right, that feel right. And when I mean that, I mean like the tags are not irritating, the seams don't scratch. I also like looking put together, because I like looking at that in the mirror. I grew up with all of those kind of fashion magazines and everything. And when I was in middle school, I wanted to grow up and be a petite model because you had to be 5'8" to be a petite model, to be a petite plus size model. That's what I wanted. And that's what I am into. Like, yeah. So that didn't quite work out because I did not end up being tall enough. Sarah says, I like having nice clothes, so I love dressing up for occasions, but I stopped doing makeup. Maybe I'll go back to it. Who knows? I do miss eyeshadow, though. I know. I love eyeshadow.
Eyeshadow is so much fun.
I love eyeshadow because it looks like a party on your face. Or it can. But yeah, when I say about style is that your inside is reflected in your outside. And what we're trying to say is that it's not an effort to look that way on a daily basis. That it's easy, it's effortless. Pretty much And yes, as I said, I have gotten dressed in the literal dark because we couldn't find the flashlight. And I used to have this really titchy phone that the flashlight option on my phone wouldn't work about 80% of the time. And every once in a while it would. Like at the most inconvenient moments.
Yeah,
it
turn
would
itself
work.
on.
Right, yes. So I have gotten dressed in the dark, like just literally grabbed clothes because I do wear things where in my dresser, like, oh, I know where my underwear drawer is, and just grabbed stuff and then sat on the floor in the dark and got dressed in the dark and was like, please don't let me look like an idiot when I get outside the house. And I looked okay. So that is the joy of a capsule wardrobe or doing something that's a little more deconstructed, like what I'm talking about, where you have a palette. And so that everything works with your palette and that you can get dressed in the dark. This concept is pretty similar. And again, though, you're still evaluating what's coming into your house and into your wardrobe before you get dressed. So again, getting dressed is effortless. Sarah says, I did a 15-second quick change in the dark wings of a stage for a theater production. Now that's fun. Yeah, I bet it is. Especially since usually there's a timing issue. Like you're not allowed to trip. What were you about to say, Spence?
I like to recommend designing yourself a uniform and a capsule wardrobe, but not limiting yourself to that. Like,
yeah,
I'm in the very early stages of rebuilding my wardrobe completely from scratch. And how I started that was I created a list of what my priorities were, what I wanted to achieve out of my wardrobe, what I was willing to sacrifice for it. And I designed myself like a uniform that I have yet to even achieve the first piece of, but and I know I'm going to build from there. Like you got to start very small and very specific and let yourself just step up from that. Like my base piece and why I got this to begin with is I want to have like 7-day dresses. Just dresses I get up and put on, and they're my sweatpants. And I wanted it in the colors that I like. So I went through and I have bought, several hundred different swatches of different fabrics to decide which I wanted to wear every day. I settled on a quilting cotton that is a little bit rougher. It's not as soft as like a voile or something like nice and quality, but it's also cheap enough and it's still 100% cotton that I will get bleach on it and fix it and I won't care because it's just for me being in my house. But, some of the things that I decided I'm not willing to do is I'm not willing to wear polyester anymore. I am not willing to purchase anything with polyester in it. And that's partly for a comfort purpose, a environmental one, and just a longevity, because polyester is what they give plus size girls because fuck us. And I don't like it. And so I decided I basically have to make my own wardrobe from scratch. Hence the hand stitching. But I grew up in homemade clothes. Like my grandma made most of my clothes from the age of 5 to 15. And I loved it. I wore skirts with flowers on them every day for 5 years straight and was very happy. And I'm going back to that.
I always remember growing up, I loved Jeff Foxworthy's, comedy stand-ups. And I always remember hearing him talk about, fashion and your parents. And that, someday, your parents were fashionable, and then just one day they got off the fashion train. And that's why they look so embarrassing to you. And all I think is, my fashion hasn't changed since I was a teenager. He may have a point. I'm like, I figured out what I liked when I was a young teen, and it's pretty much stuck, which is I like button-down shirts. and I like slacks. Okay, now I kind of like kilts. If the weather's right. But I mean, I like, I still like the same thing, and I like to have a colored undershirt in a button up. But I know it looks all right on me, and I don't have to think twice about it.
I really like for lounging around, for being at home and, going out to be comfortable, the camisole with, of course, the adjustable spaghetti straps. Has to be adjustable or else no. Because even plus size clothing, a lot of it is real hit or miss with a bust. So having adjustable straps is what I require in order for me to essentially customize it to me. And then in my perfect world, it would be a Henley top, which you've all seen me wear. I've got several of them they're exactly the same except the color, and they're all cotton jersey. And I'm very comfortable in them, and I like them. And they all kind of work together color-wise. With lounge pants with pockets. Why do women's clothes not have pockets? I'm not going to stab anybody in my home, probably.
Because they know what happens with pockets.
Because
Women
that's actually why they
scissors.
took out pockets. That's actually why they removed clothing, pockets from women's fast fashion or ready-made fashion in Paris. It was a law. Because women were pulling scissors and other things out of their pockets and stabbing politicians in France.
Yeah, they had to ban hat pins in England at one point because...
Yes, again, because when you take our pockets away, well then, yeah. Okay, so look.
And hat pins are this long. They're like razor needles this long.
You can cause real damage. If anybody's watched the second season of Sherlock, you know the damage that can be caused with a long hat pin. And you can get hat pins in 18 inches long, which is enough to do damage to a human being. Mm-hmm. I'm not recommending. I'm saying as a writer, right? Because we all sort of catalog these things in the back of our head. How do you kill characters?
No, Eva, they didn't ban them. It's just bad fashion.
No, fanny packs are back. So the world is upside down. This is...
just no.
But no. Apparently you can still stab someone with something from your fanny pack, just not women's pockets. Because again, men can carry fanny packs. Fanny packs were originally actually marketed to men.
Yeah.
So again, hi, have you met sexism? I'd like to introduce you to sexism in fashion.
I want to go back to the 1700s pockets. I want panniers.
You mean you can put a baby or a kitten in each pocket?
You can put a chicken in a pocket and a cat in the other.
You can put a puppy in there.
Were separate from your outfit.
Yes. That's what you put on underneath. Yes, y'all, you could hide. You could smuggle some things. A lot of things, actually.
Think of how many candy bars you could take into the movie theater with you with those things. Dang.
At least 20 and a 6-pack in the other pocket. 6-pack of sodas or whatever. Yes, I agree. So I wanted lounge pants with pockets and an undershirt, a camisole with a Henley on top, ideally. Because I don't like things with tight necks anyway. I have a very large neck. How large is it, Glory? 18.5 inches. It's larger than most full-grown men. I got a neck that you apparently cannot knock this head off of. It's hardly a neck. Look at it. It's so short. It's so short. This is it. This is all my neck. So... I have meant to. If you actually know the history of why do we have cheekbones the way we do, it's to take a punch. If you think I'm kidding, but forensic anthropology is fascinating. And yeah, our genetics is made for this to be very durable and reinforced. So I don't like necklines because they're always too small for this physique. And so I love Henleys since I can unbutton them anyway. And from there, they all go together. All the colors, everything. It's just pick an overshirt, pick an undershirt, pick lounge pants, you're ready to go. Put on some ballet type flats, you're ready to go.
Fun t-shirt hack, because I have a similar thing. I don't like close necklines. This just wrote up, but when you get a t-shirt, cut this off. The
ribbing?
Yeah, the ribbing. Just cut it off. It won't fray because it's a t-shirt, so it's a really
It's a knit,
good
yeah.
knit. Like, it's a good knit. I've had bad knits that will like, oh, you touched it, it's ribbons now. But a good t-shirt like a Hanes or something like that, you can cut the neckline off and it just opens it up all the way, and it's so good.
Yes. In fact, y'all have seen me, and I have 2 of my favorite shirts that I've cut the neck out of. And then I cut the neckline to be kind of interesting and exciting. Because I felt like it. So, and again, I layer that with an undershirt, and it's very comfortable. So again, it's a part of my style, which, by the way, I have dressed it up with jewelry accessories before, and no one had a clue I was literally going out in public in my pajamas. I would get compliments at a bunch of different places because my lounge pants are all like brightly patterned, with umbrellas or kittens or dachshunds in Christmas wear. And people would compliment me thinking I was being very fashionable, in part because I dressed it up with accessories. It never occurred to any of them I was literally going out in what I had slept in. You put earrings on and a necklace and a bracelet, you're ready to go. People are like, oh, she meant to do that. This must be fashionable. And they just go with it. It's fantastic.
But if you want...
I love good vintage brooches. Like, I don't wear jewelry very often, but I like brooches and clip-on earrings. Favorite hack. Where's my jewelry box? It is right here. If you want to make something look really fancy, a brooch, or my grandma never pierced her ears, but she always had earrings on, and they were always clip-ons. And so there's a pair in here of my favorite. They're these guys.
Mm.
And it's got the flip back, and just clip it, both of them on the neckline of your shirt or your dress, and it just makes it way fancier.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah, I don't have pierced ears, so I only own clip-ons and twist backs.
But if you want to have fun, this screen I've shared.
How to dress manly. I cannot quite read it. Can you make it larger, Tom?
Dang it. One sec.
Inception.
Does not want to.
Well, nail polish. Oh, does it give the time periods? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so fun fact about our father. I'm the oldest. I remember the day that my father sat me down, and I was like probably 11 and a half, 12 years old. And he was like, makeup is like a man's thing. And I'm like, excuse me, what? And Dad's like, makeup was invented by men for men. And I'm like, for men?
Mm-hmm.
To put on women? It's like, no, women don't need makeup because they have natural beauty. Men wish to obscure their truth, and so they wear makeup. And this has been evidenced by all the courtesans, all the people in court who wear makeup, men. And he's like, heels too, ruffles, all of this was invented for men to wear. And I'm like, And he's like, so I'd really prefer you not wear much makeup. Really? Anyway, I'm not saying anybody needs to listen to my father because I obviously didn't. Y'all see me in full drag and I love it. But every time I see this stuff, I can hear my father in the back of my head. Makeup was invented for men by men. Mm-hmm. It's for men to wear glory. Really, Daddy? Yes. Those arched eyebrows, those loud eyeshadows, that was all invented by men for men to wear. Okay. But it is true. That's the part that kind of, I have to give to my father
And yeah,
is, oh, yes, lace collars and cuffs and puff sleeves and makeup and nail polish and low neck shirts and skirts and corsets. Corsets originally were for men. Women wore stays.
which I would like to bring back.
Yes, I love a good stay just because it offers so much back support, but
Mhm.
also like a little bit of some of us need some support because we got a bust. They get
There's my next sewing project after I finish this, which is gonna be a while because I'm hand stitching like a dozen button holes.
yeah,
But is I'm going to make myself a pair of stays.
yes. So yes, to continue, pink is a man's color. It was originally a masculine color because it is the color of blood washed out of white cotton. Hence, it was considered a masculine color versus blue was considered more demure. And so that was a woman's color, including navy. It's less, out there in your face. High heels, ballet. I do love a man in ballet costume. Anyway.
the unitard.
It gets kind of comical though, and anyway, so that's a whole nother. Anyway, medieval suspension method. What is that? Oh, garter. Okay, I was like, what is a medieval suspension method? That does not have to do with bridging. But yes, hosiery and all of this,
Why it's a
like,
pair of pants? Because each leg was originally separate.
like what we think of as hosiery, where it shows in the outside, was actually originally for men. It is true. So, dress like a man, y'all, and look as pretty as you want. Zara would like this link, Tom.
I'll have to send it because I had to screen cap it off of someone else. Because Instagram does not like to let you grab images.
It is true.
Especially from, what people post in their reels and stuff. But yeah, I'll send it.
But
Because it's like, I love this is actually a good one, especially with the dates of, no, it's
yes,
all.
I do like cite your sources. But Mom, I am a rich man. Exactly.
But yeah, it's like, I thought it was fascinating too, of just
most of these fashions that we enjoy now were originally only worn by men and made popular. I mean, they didn't even mention, some of the other things, but nevertheless.
But it's like essentially it's the magical girl aesthetic is entirely masculine.
Short skirts were originally men's clothes, menswear.
Especially the nice twirly ones, like the from the Princess Bride.
And believe me, the twirly part was a factor. Men would twirl all over the court to show off both their thick thighs as well as their fine buttocks. Like, it was twirly and high cut on purpose for this purpose. And then the men would twirl and then bend over in a deep bow so that everyone behind could see.
And also, though, it showed the sumptuousness of the fabric they used, because to get that twirl effect, you do need a certain kind of weight of fabric that is very difficult to manufacture.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Lovelock hairstyle as well. I agree. Yep, all of this was men's fashion.
But yeah, just figured since we are talking, style and fashion
So again, like, gender's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Fashion history is delightful.
Find out what makes you feel comfortable. That is the biggest question whenever you're trying to find your style. It's just, what do you feel comfortable wearing? Some people actually do feel more comfortable in less clothing.
And I think also it's like important to find out what you feel comfortable in, because comfortable wear, whatever is comfortable for you, is more sustainable for you to wear daily. Like, y'all, I did not feel great today. I woke up, I did not get that much sleep. I had some intestinal cramping last night. It wasn't great. I didn't feel good. I threw this on. Literally, like, right before the pre-show party. I threw this on. I'm comfortable now. And thank goodness I'm comfortable, because I can only imagine how more miserable I would be right now if my clothes were uncomfortable to wear or were itchy or anything. Like, one of the things I love about this top is it's very breathable. It's very lightweight. I don't feel constrained in it. It's something I can wear no matter what. So figuring out what is your style, even when you don't feel your best, is part of what is your style. Because as anybody knows who survived the last 2 years, it could get worse. It can get worse fast. So when it is really crappy out there, what are you comfortable in that, again, still portrays who you are? There are benefits to dressing stylishly in your own sense of style. People have an easier time remembering you. People recall you better. People find your style more admirable because even when it's not their particular aesthetic, they still like that you've shown that you care about yourself and how you portray yourself enough to have essentially pull together a look. They admire that. And that's why it's useful to figure out your own style and start cultivating your wardrobe, because it tells people how much you value yourself. People who value themselves are valued more by others. And part of how you signal that you value yourself is that you show your own sense of style to others. You convey that. And of course, you don't need to just convey it in your clothing. There's also your home decor. And by extension, if you have a vehicle, your car decor. Why, yes, throw pillows and a throw blanket are entirely appropriate in a car. Ask me all about it. Because again, you pull together a look and it shows people, I value this car. I value the time I spend in it. Do you hear?
Yeah.
An echo?
Yeah, for some reason all of a sudden you echoed. Weird delay.
Maybe StreamYard's having trouble. So anyhow, without further ado, shall we go do a bio break?
Perfect timing.
Sounds good.
This response just got home.
We will see y'all back here in approximately 10 minutes. Now, may I point out, would be a lovely time to make sure you have something to drink. Perhaps it's snack time. Have you checked in with your bladder lately? How about a little walk around? Maybe it's a good moment to do something productive. Maybe you've been inspired to look at your wardrobe a little bit more critically and see what you love that's in there and what brings you more sadness than happiness, and how soon you can replace that. So we'll see y'all back here in approximately 10 minutes. Let's see. Beep beep beep. Beep beep beep. Beep 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 beep. Boom. Well, hello. How did everybody do? Did y'all make it back safe and sound? No, maybe, kind of.
I did.
Almost. I'm only half here. No.
I did several things. A couple of them mom things.
Good mom duty. You get gold stars automatically.
I can't tell if you could hear him in the background, but he is watching Mr. Spence play Monster Hunter Stories.
Ah, nice.
And it's apparently awesome.
As it should be. I was thinking during the break that I should share some of the things I have learned from literally decades of reading various style books, particularly personal style books. Because I have always been this lovely potato you see before you now. Always. Ever since I was a tiny potato, I wasn't that tiny. I was 7 pounds, 15 and a half ounces. And then my mother said I gained, God, what was it? It was a pound a week just from breastfeeding. As if this was my fault. You're muted, Tom. You've ruined your excited. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing. There you go.
You grew like a tiny, tiny baby whale.
Tiny baby whale. I was an adorable baby whale, if I do say so myself. I was just this little baby whale going, where is my... Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So I have always been plus size. And in fact, like my father actually had to make extensions to the percentile charts for all the charts that they used to use to keep track of baby heads and baby weight and baby height and everything. I was always like at 105%, including my head. I think my head size was 125%. So my father would carefully hand draw his own chart extensions for me, which are somewhere in my stuff. One of them has survived. It's adorable. So what I have learned, I saw this one in a book. I can't remember the title because I've slept since 1993. But this was written by a plus size woman, and her advice was, I cannot improve the selection or the quantity of plus size clothing available to you wherever you are. So let us talk about what you do have control over. You have control over what you actually spend your money on. You have control over if you buy the clothing or not. And you should certainly never buy something that doesn't fit right and that is not comfortable to wear. No matter how fashionable other people tell you it is, no matter how good other people tell you look in it, if it is uncomfortable for you, you will always be miserable wearing it. So pay close attention to the seams and also pay close attention to the washing instructions. It was the early to mid 90s, so legitimate. Y'all don't know what it was like in the 70s and 80s. It was a horror show.
Modern laundry sauce does not leach colors the way old-fashioned laundry sauce did.
Oh.
You mean back when they put phosphate in all the detergent? Anyway, that's a whole nother matter. So she said, the best thing I could recommend for you, because she said I don't remember if she ever actually said what her job was, but essentially she had to travel a lot every year internationally. And so she's like, I travel to New York and LA. I also travel to Milan. I travel to London. I travel to all the big cities in the world. Every year she would go to at least like 23 major cities. And she's like, the selection ain't great, even though I have, the world as my option for clothing purchases, and I make enough money that I could buy most any kind of clothing. And the selection isn't great for me. So I can only imagine how limited it is for everyone else. So therefore, here's my advice. Purchase clothing that is comfortable, that fits you well, that you don't hate when you look at yourself in the mirror. Purchase it in basic colors, with patterns that are relatively timeless if possible, but just do your best. And really, when we talk about making something look stylish, try to tell those stories with accessories more than with, say, tops and bottoms or blouses and so on. So that was her advice, which I found to be very helpful. And because, as she put it, scarves are not dependent exactly on your size, although you do need to kind of pay attention to what size of scarves or how big the scarves are and the cut of the scarf as well as the coloring of the scarf, just because that can interplay. But so she recommended, essentially having tops and bottoms in basic clothing colors, and then using accessories to really have your sense of style play out. So she's like, pay more attention to that. Brooches don't come in, a size 26 women's. They're just whatever size that brooch is. Granted, as a plus size woman, you'll probably want larger brooches, or if all you can find are smaller brooches, wear several in a pattern so that it, essentially gives the eye the idea of a larger size to, again, make you appear proportional. Because what would be the point of wearing a tiny brooch on quite a large size chest? Unless you are trying to make your chest look even larger, in which case go right ahead. That would work very well. So, and I thought about it. She's like, yeah, so for earrings and necklaces, while these petite, tiny little wispy necklaces look great and maybe fashionable at a certain point, they look like they're swallowed up in the neck of some people, which is true. I had already experienced it by the time I read this and was like, yes, preach to me, ma'am. So she's like, instead, get larger chains, get bulkier jewelry to, again, be proportional to your size. And then she actually devoted, I swear, half the book was honestly devoted to taking care of all your stuff. How do you take care of all your different jewelry? It was very detailed instructions on wiping down things and the kind of cloths you're looking for, and like what to know about purchasing jewelry, but also like how to stain removal. And so her other advice was shoes. Most people's feet are not that dependent on their weight. Little had she never met me. But anyway, because like, I've got like the tops of my feet are apparently very pudgy. So my feet look fat in some shoes. It is a cruel twist of fate. But man, it's fine. It just meant that, maybe I just was never meant to wear pumps. And it turns out pumps are very uncomfortable for me. So yeah, that worked out fine. I'm not crying. But as she said, pay more attention to your shoe shopping. Pay more attention to your purchasing of jewelry, accessories, scarves, hair clips, because you can tell a lot about your style in how you accessorize.
I found bracelets.
Good advice. Yes, bracelets. And you may think a bracelet is going to go out of fashion. Y'all, at a certain point, just hold on to it long enough and it will come back in fashion.
Everything old is new again.
Yeah. You can rework it.
Oh, yeah. And nowadays, like with history bounding and vintage fashion being so like mainstream and popular, I'm wearing, my ideal aesthetic is I live in 1972, but I'm wearing my grandma's wardrobe from 1953.
I get everything. I have no problem with all the fashion, other than for me, it hurts a little bit inside when I see late 90s fashion coming back. It's just You
mean the frosted tips and the puka shells?
And the rethinking of bell bottoms to those flare bottom.
I love flare bottoms. What are you talking about? I look great in them. They really play off hips well because I got some hips for days.
Yeah, but again, speaking of hips, of where, we're just going to remove the entire belt section of pants and lower it one length of hip.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I gave up on jeans ages ago. Because I like high-waisted things.
Do you know I gave up on jeans when they closed Fashion Bug?
That was such a sad day.
I have wept a few times when I have thought about, like, I would be able to find the right jeans at Fashion Bug, but not anywhere else on the planet. I have literally hoarded some of the jeans that have died deaths, but they were from Fashion Bug, and I'm like, one day I'm going to get a copy made. Anyway, I obviously am still in my grieving process. It's been more than a decade, and I'm still grieving.
Yeah.
So,
well, by the way, this is not Glorious Insanity. There is actually a company out of the Philippines that you can send your favorite clothes to, especially ones that have worn out, and they will make a copy of it.
There's one out of India too, at least, or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And we even have very similar fabrics to this. So I'm like, was this where they made this baby? But yeah, you can. It's just I haven't had the resources. I mean, when I say resources, I mean money. I haven't had the finances to, mail my jeans away and like have them make me copies. Because once they make you a copy, they're like, if you tell us, we'll keep it on file, and you could just have more copies made of from any kind of fabric we have. But you can have more. They'll essentially keep the pattern. Is what they're saying.
And it's actually surprisingly low cost. Like,
yeah, especially how much they're trying to sell plus size women's jeans now. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So anyway,
yeah, that's a lot of why I like to make my own clothes, because it's sad how much cheaper it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
I get to be happy with it because I'm never as happy with a store-bought item as I was when my grandma was making my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's say if you are at all any kind of bigger person, one of the problems is people grow out in size differently than like you grow just from your bones changing. And so like one of the big problems is like people's shoulders do not get as wide as quickly as the rest of them. So often you'll see shirts, even this one, where the shoulder, is seamed here, but the seam needs to be an inch or two higher.
Mm-hmm.
And like that is, if you ever want to get your clothes personalized to truly look tailored to you, to look truly put together, like you paid for everything, just go to a seamstress, a tailor, whatever, and just have them raise the shoulder seam to your actual shoulder, and people will comment about
how good you look.
Yes, of how well it fits you.
Yeah, an appropriately fitted arm size is the hardest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it will automatically make you look impressive and rich as
yes.
Yes.
Like,
that's the real secret they don't talk about. And you can even do it at home in a very simple way of just, you turn the shirt inside out, you move it up to the you move the actual seam up to where it's supposed to be on the shoulder, pin it, and just do a little bit of whip stitching even.
That's what I've been doing this whole time, is just, this is a whip stitch.
Let me make you bigger.
Okay. This is a terribly done whip stitch, for the record. This is a whip stitch.
But it's on the inside seam. Nobody
can see it.
And you cannot
your hem.
not see it from the outside. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so what does it matter? It looks great.
It's a whip stitch for somebody who doesn't care.
It's real simple, but when the seam is on your proper shoulder, it looks great on you.
So I will say the other tip, though, if you are a man, this one works for it works for anyone who wants to show off the gun show. So there is a spot on every arm where it goes in just a little bit. There's like a little dip.
That's for your deltoid.
Thank you. And the very expensive t-shirt shirts that movie stars wear, and they always look so buff, so amazing. That is where it is hemmed. When they're just in a white or a black t-shirt, why do they look so amazing in a shirt when the rest of us put on a t-shirt, like an actual t-shirt, like just a plain old shirt, and we look like frumpy? The reason why is it is hemmed exactly there. And so you can hem any t-shirt to stop right there, and it will look like the t-shirts that famous movie stars wear that cost anywhere between $400 and $1,200 per shirt.
Yeah.
So like Clint Eastwood, Ryan Reynolds, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they all wear these shirts. And so that's another little seamstress trick or tailor trick that you can just hem it. So you want to be sure to hem the sleeve or the shoulder and bring the sleeve up to where it should actually be naturally. And then you want to either hem or extend the hem on the shirt sleeve itself to stop right at the deltoid. So in order to do that, someone else has to pin this on you. You can't really do this accurately on yourself. And then that is how you look like $1,000,000 in a simple plain white or black tee. It's just tricks of clothing. Again, why style does actually matter, because we are communicating a lot about ourselves and how we perceive ourselves to everyone else in the world. And it's unconscious, it's unspoken. And remember, that's part of when people talk about body language is like 80% of what you communicate to others is unspoken. Part of that is actually how you wear your clothes, how you wear your accessories, where you put what. You're communicating all of that. So is that the message you're wanting to communicate? Whatever that is. Because you're communicating it one way or another, whether you wanted to or not, that's still being communicated. So what is it that you actually want to communicate? What we're trying to then talk about instead is how to make that effortless.
Yeah.
How to make it where you're communicating the message you want without it being exhausting, without it taking you a whole lot of effort every day. Instead, it takes you little to no effort every day. That's what we really are trying to talk about, is how to do that in a way that you kind of start forgetting that, you actually thought this out, and that's why you do it. That's why maybe you look for certain kinds of clip-on earrings. And quick fun fact, if you have those little chain necklaces, like gold chain or silver chain, and you have some nice ones, you can hang a brooch from that as a pendant. And I have tried this out many a time, and no one has ever realized it was a brooch.
Actually, we even have a few brooches that are made to double as pendants.
Yeah, pendant and a brooch.
Like, you ever see a brooch that has a little circle on one side on the back? It's because that's to hang it on a necklace.
And like, those are just cool accessories too. Like, don't underestimate how cool it is to just be wearing a brooch.
Yeah.
So this is, all right, let me make me bigger so you can guys see this better. This is just a simple bracelet. Inscribed on it, it says Giselle, who was my great-grandmother, my mother's father's mother. Anytime I wear it, I get compliments, even though I think it's frankly rather plain. It's hollow. Gosh, it's what, 120 years old now?
Something like that.
It's nothing special, but I have had several people, when I say several, dozens, have asked, where is that? I would love to get one for someone I know, or I would like it. And I'm like, this was my great-grandmother Gussie's, who I was named after. And they're like, but it's nice. It's comfortable to wear, obviously, because apparently she and I had identical bodies. It is a doodad people can comment on and strike a conversation with me, though.
Okay, I have a bright yellow beret I wear because I love hats. Hats are some of my favorite things. And I get asked about my hats all the time. And
This
it
was
is
one of Gussie's rings. I'm the only person in the entire extended family that can wear these because, as I said, she and I apparently had identical bodies. It's actually quite comfortable to wear. And again, I get compliments and asked.
It's also not a very common style either.
It really isn't because I believe this is smoked citron.
Yeah.
Or this is citron. It's citron. Citron.
Citron. Oh, citrine.
Citrine, yeah.
Yeah.
It has been to hell and back. I have accidentally washed in a washing machine before, by the way. Which is why it is a bit misshapen. It's not a circle anymore if you see it.
But like that's also a fun thing to go on what is it, not Alibaba, the other, go on wish.com and go, get a couple of those little dollar rings.
This one's a smoked topaz of Gussie's. However, my mother's mother got it, and she had tiny fingers, and she had it resized. So now I can only put it on the pinky. But again, if you think about the size of Gussie, who obviously was the same body size as me versus Marion was teeny tiny, it is proportional. It's not teeny tiny because that would make me look like it's not proportional. Like, my God, do you have like huge hands? Like abnormally outside of the human realm of hand size, not like masculine.
Like another thing that shows like power of proportion and looks interesting is Spence's the danglies on the glasses.
Yeah, my glasses chain.
Of like, though, they're actually a nice size for the glasses, so they look, nicely fashionable. They look, purposeful.
And it's also something somebody could strike up a conversation, say, my, what an interesting glass chain you have. Did you make that or did you buy that somewhere? It's a way to start a conversation, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another great thing about making your own clothes is I have a dress I wear that you don't find the fabric you get in the fabric store on clothes you find in the wild. So you get stopped a lot, especially if you have a pattern. And they go, where did you get that dress? And you go, oh, I made it. And people think of you differently.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's also a good way to get people to have something to converse about. Because then already, it's already, a hobby of yours. It's something you are more than happy to talk about. Because they just want something that they know you. It's much easier to converse about something they know, you chose purposefully. Even in Sarah's case, truly a statement ring, as they're called if we get, an oversized ring.
Yeah, or a cocktail ring, I've heard them called.
Again, it's something that's fun to start a conversation about.
I purchased this from a local jewelry maker. I had to stop wearing it because the ends of the necklace oxidized, and I need to fix that first. Oh, fun fact, I can oxidize jewelry in 20 minutes. As my mother put it, we're very acidic women.
There is, though, a product for that, which is a marine plastic that you can get that, is safe for jewelry that you can use. We just haven't gotten around to painting it on.
And going to the thrift shop for jewelry is always fun.
Yeah.
Especially for that, somebody asks, where did you get that? Oh, God, the thrift shop. So it's one of a kind.
This is from a thrift shop.
Yeah, it doesn't have
like that.
I purchased it for $10 plus $2 shipping.
The majority of my jewelry pieces anymore are
I've worn this so many times, and every time somebody compliments me. Because again, one strand would look kind of tiny on my gifted neck. But 4 strands, 5, a whole cluster. And it's like, wow, Glory, you look great.
But yeah, getting proportion is important.
I think it's more important than size generally.
Mm-hmm. You can wear more than one bracelet at a time, particularly if you are larger. And again, now we're talking about it's more proportional.
Also, if you're a bigger person, chunkier.
So here's one. And frankly, it still looks a little, but 2. And now I look like I meant to do that. You were saying, Tom?
Also, as your frame gets bigger, chunkier becomes more of a friend. Because again, it's that proportional size.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, the fashion we tend to see for teenage girls
is rather small.
And but I was saying, like, I've seen, those where you have half an arm full of very skinny rings, bracelets. And since they're all skinny little ones and they change colors, then they look, purposeful and, to a size proportion fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, that those 2 bracelets are much chunkier. And so they look more proportional to your hand. Honestly, I do like the idea about using some clip-ons to also just fashion, make fascinators for your top.
Just the old school dress clips is what the idea comes from. And I just happen to have a large array of my grandma's clip-on earrings. I can just put them right there, and it's just so bam.
And also sometimes you'll see earrings that, even especially with clip-ons, they're a bit heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's a pain to get them tensioned right. But on cloth, they'll have better grip, and it's easier to get. And especially if they're bigger ones already, they make better fascinators.
The majority of my jewelry at this point are hand-me-downs from my grandma's costume jewelry. So it's kind of like a grab bag, literally.
I tend to get my jewelry from thrift stores that have a lot of retirement communities. So what happens is somebody's mother or grandmother passes away, and they try to sell off a bunch of it, but then at a certain point they're left with the rest of grandma's household of stuff. And then they'll take that and they will give it to, some sort of charity or something that usually has a thrift store attached. And it ends up there, but they're selling, grandma's little clip-on costume jewelry earrings for $2 for a pair, $5 for a pair. And that's where I get these big statement brooches. That's where I get all sorts of stuff. Some of it is holiday specific, but I do like kitschy Christmas holiday jewelry. Okay, is it Rudolph who's crashed into a house? Yeah, I'm gonna buy that brooch. I assume Grandma won is what they're implying, and that's why Grandma's wearing it. And that's why this used to be Grandma's brooch. These bracelets were part of a set a friend of mine bought me that she bought at a thrift store. And I mean, she told me about it. And they're lovely. I love that they're stretchy, so I can actually fit it because I also have very large wrists for women. Matches the neck. I assume it's so that I can also throw a punch. But I like those thrift stores that are essentially near retirement communities, because you tend to find these pieces that you're not going to see those anywhere else, and they're very inexpensive because they're just trying to move it. These thrift stores are just trying to support whatever charity, like helping families get on their feet or something. They're just needing to sell this stuff to move it. And so I always will ask, because again, I don't have pierced ears. What do you have with screwbacks or clip-ons? What do you have? Anything that's not pierced? And they usually have that section, and they are priced lower because it's harder to move those since everybody's got pierced ears now and they don't want to wear clip-ons. And so it's even more affordable than a lot of the pierced earring jewelry is. And so I'll pick those up. I used to actually buy those because for a while it was hard for even jewelry stores like Jewel's jewelry store. Not like Jules the Dawdling Rider. I mean like actual gemstone jewelry stores. To get those clip-ons, like the ones that were legitimately gold or silver or platinum. So I'd buy all of the backs, no matter how kitschy or whatever the earrings were, so that Marty, the jeweler, my jeweler, could go through, figure out what was real, and then make me earrings with that, since he couldn't even order, he couldn't source screwbacks or clip-on earrings that didn't hurt. And so I would buy anything for like $2, no matter how obnoxious the earrings were. And then I ended up with all these extra because, Marty very quick was like, oh, these are gold. I could tell right here. We'll take these and we'll make you the earrings you wanted. Because Marty got a deal on created emeralds and created diamonds. Apparently somebody had flooded the market about 15 years ago and he was like, look, I can match you for your engagement ring. I can make you a matching earring set, but I have to have the back since you don't do pierced. And you said the clip side I bought before hurt. This is before I knew about there's such a thing called earring keys or jewelry keys. And what the key does, well, let me make this bigger. It actually adjusts the tension on this piece here. Do you see how on this one? Let me see if the other one, maybe it's a little, because I have adjusted the tension on these. But there's this piece here. Do you see I can kind of get my nail under it?
Mm-hmm.
That is a tensioner. And if you have an earring key, you can adjust the tension on the clip on this part. It's a tension. You can buy these earring keys for $5, y'all. Do you know how ticked off I was when Marty told me that? And I'm like, where have you been for the last 25 years of my life? Well, the first 25 years. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. Marty's like, I just sold my last one. I'm like, you need to carry like a dozen at a time. But anyway, if you want to wear clip-on earrings, look for an earring key. Sometimes it's actually in the shape of a key. They're like $5. Don't pay more than $10 for these things. But it's a little key, and you then twist it a little to adjust the tension on here, and then you can twist it back. And it adjusts the tension on all these things. That's what they're for. That's why it's got this piece that never made sense to me. So, anyhow. Hi, Maggie.
Maggie's stuck in the ER.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Another migraine that won't go away.
Oof.
Yeah, oof. I'm sorry. So, that is like pretty much what I wanted to say about personal style, is think about accessories. Accessories are not just for women or non-binary people. They are also for masculine people. Aside from, yes, the puka shells that have come back in fashion. I'm coping. And the one earring thing. Okay. Be a pirate. It's fine. I do think men look great in pearls. I'm just saying. There are plenty of other accessories men can wear, including brooches. Did you know brooches were originally men's clothing too? Men's accessories? And what were brooches originally used for? To keep the cloak together, y'all. You'd have two brooches, one on each side, and it would keep your cloak from slipping back. Or your shawl. That's right, men also wore shawls, I'm just saying. Or blankets. They would wear small throw blankets, like the kind we put on our sofas now. That was originally men's wear as well. Men are funny that way. And they would wear either one brooch or two, depending. And so, yes, there are plenty of masculine brooches, and they're not just flag pins.
Also, and there are a bunch of masculine rings.
Yes, there's plenty of masculine rings. In fact, I've seen men wear both of these rings, like I've loaned these out, and nobody thought that they were not men's cocktail rings. These apparently are very gender neutral, which I think is cute. So there's also tie pins and all sorts of things. Also men's winter scarves, gloves. All of these things tell a story. Belts. All of these things tell a story. Hats.
Opting for suspenders over a belt. That tells a lot about a dude.
Yeah, that he doesn't want anyone to see his crack. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Y'all, I've seen way more cracks than I have ever wanted to. And no one cares.
I like
some of these cracks are definitely not for public display.
I'm going to stop there. Just let's take a break.
Right.
Cleanse the mind.
All right. Let me
and
find.
Then we'll come back and go, and start just talking tips, tricks, all the little things.
I have reached my limit of hand sewing today. This is a good timing.
Is it all the small things, Tom?
Yes.
Since we're talking about the late 90s, early 2000s. All right, y'all. We're going to take approximately a 10-minute break. Again, here's another opportunity. Do you have something to drink? How's that bladder? Is it snack time? It might be snack time. How about a little walkie time? Maybe you just reply to that one email you've been not replying to for like a week and a half. Hi, Aphrodite Lee. How are you doing, sweetie? And we will all see you back here at approximately 10 minutes. Beep, beep, beep. Beep, beep, beep. Beep, 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 beep. Boom. Well, now, here we've made it. The final hour. Probably help if I turn that banner off. Anyway. Alrighty. Tips, tricks, and hacks? Sure. Here is what I will say about home decor. Most people do not keep exactly the same aesthetic throughout their life. You know, at least every 5 to 10 years, they're going to tweak it at least a little bit. And when I say that, I mean, like, say, for instance, from straight cottagecore to Victoriana to goblin core to witchcore to gothcore. Like, okay, there's an evolution there. But anyway, I'm just saying, like there's some overlap. So what, again, I would recommend home decor wise is looking for furniture that is just plain old comfortable in a simple fabric if possible. Sometimes you just have to work with what you have, quite honestly. Like, it's a hand-me-down couch. In my family, the women in my family are not shoe obsessed, we're sofa obsessed. Yeah, there was a time period where I was going through, okay, between me and my mother, we were going through a new sofa at least every 4 to 6 months between the two of us. And we lived in 2 different households. And we were like, hey, there's a sofa here, you should come look at. Comfort is so much more important than exactly even the upholstery. And the reason why is you can obscure a lot with throw blankets and all sorts of accent pillows. And honestly, if at all, if you are like, I love everything about this chair or sofa or whatever except the upholstery, it is a nightmare from the darkest pits of hell. There are entire companies that only specialize in furniture covers, in any kind of fabric you can imagine. And frankly, they are surprisingly affordable. Like, yeah. I am not saying, oh, when Gloria says surprisingly affordable, she means $500 to $1,000. Y'all, I'm talking about $40. My concept of money has unfortunately not changed since the 80s, so I tend to go by 80s money. Oh, this has been a problem when I'm pricing my own work. But, like, it's about comfort, and then, yeah, you could just buy different covers. Or even if you don't want to go to that level, you could honestly just use different throws and accents and other kinds of ways to adjust it, as well as changing your wall decor. So here is what I learned when I was in the education program, and I took art for teachers. Put aside all your terrible jokes about art teachers and teachers teaching art. All of those are valid. But here's what I learned. I had a really good professor, and she said a lot of students, a lot of children, young learners, well, not even that young, but learners, give up on their artwork because they've poured their heart and soul into it, and it's still at the end of the day or whatever they feel they've done everything they can, it doesn't look finished. She said there's a secret to this. How do you make work of art finished? And the answer is you fill in all the white. Have them fill in the sky, even if the sky is blue and white clouds. Have them fill it in. Have them fill in the grass or the ground. That's the problem. If nothing else, put in some shading and make a vignette or a frame. That's what makes a picture or, essentially like a 2-dimensional image look finished or complete, where the parent will then praise the child. That is the problem, is they're not getting praise from their parents because their parents yeah, it's okay, it looks like a doodle, rather than it looks like this child spent 17 hours over this week drawing a sneaker. which was an assignment we had. And it was the best sneaker I've ever drawn in my life. We had to take off an actual shoe to do this, by the way. We couldn't look at what we were drawing. It was amazing. Anyway, that's a whole nother. But then she was like, now watch, I want everyone to put a background in. She's like, here's all the watercolors, here's all the crayons. I don't care what you do, but you have to fill in everything except your shoe that you just drew the previous class and watch what happens. And we did that. And it was like, oh, this went from a doodle to art. And the answer is you fill in the background. So home decor is kind of like that as well. So one of the things I've noticed when people talk about they've spent so much time on, buying sofas and getting the accent pillows, they've spent a lot of time at Home Goods or the home store, or insert your favorite place that you go to buy things. And it still doesn't look like Instagram fresh. The answer is often the walls. And it's not that you need to paint the walls. A lot of us live in rentals, and it's just not even an option. But what you can do instead is paintings, other art on the walls. You can hang, not posters necessarily, because people don't necessarily like that in their living room unless they frame it. But you can also hang those tapestries, all those sorts of things. And it really brings a room together. Again, because think about, you're trying to close in, you're trying to finish up that background.
Yeah, you're trying to close up your negative space.
Right. So that it looks like, no, if there's negative space here, I meant to do it. It's an aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, I didn't have enough skill to color in the sky. When the sky takes the least amount of skill. 2-year-olds can paint sky. You just give them a wet brush. Here's the blue one. Just do the blue or the green or the red or whatever. And they can fill that in. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I have learned about home decor aesthetic or art, is really think about how are you going to fill the wall and how are you going to accent it. That is actually what most people notice far more than, oh, do they have the latest trend in sofas or recliners or coffee tables? Honestly, I've had people who actually, and this is true, spent over $2,000 for a wooden spool coffee table from a legitimate store, when I'm like, they literally abandoned those down at the dump. I could have sold you one for $30 and it would have been identical. For real. Although I will say aesthetically, that spool really did work with their rustic look that they were doing. It was really cool. But it's not about those big pieces. It's about how you fill in the rest of the space. And again, you could honestly just go with an aesthetic and it will work out great. So if you need inspiration, figure out like what aesthetic kind of works for you. Do you want to live in a living room of goblin core? Well, you're going to need bones and rocks, baby.
Mine, I love finding like the weird ways of describing your aesthetic, because that gets the picture through so much better. Like for my wardrobe, I want to look like I live in 1972, but I'm wearing my grandma's outfits from 1953. I want my house to look like a craft store, thrift store, and nerd shop threw up. And so that means in my living room, I have a painting that hung up in my grandma's living room that I think she painted. It's like a Bob Ross style painting. On top of a picture, a photograph of my great uncle with some faux greenery on there. And on the wall right next to it is a painting my friend did of Scott Pilgrim stuck to the wall with blue poster tape. And it works.
One of the things hanging up on our wall in the living room is, it's just a cheap frame. I think it's like 16 by 20. And I cut a piece of thick, heavy-duty cardboard from a box that would work as the insert. And then I covered that with black craft paper. Like the kind that comes on a roll, but, anything. And then all I did, because it was actually for a book display at the library, is I had printed out paintings from museums that looked like this person is definitely a character in a family. You know what I'm trying to say here, right? Like, oh, wow, that's interesting. That's sort of those kind of images where there's a story here. This person definitely looks like you either definitely invite them to the family holiday get together or you definitely don't invite them. And I printed those out in color and cut them out. Like I put a backing on them and cut them out so they would kind of hold. And I put a little foam behind each one so they would be a little lifted. And different ones had different amounts of foam so I could get height. The book display we did was called And You Thought Your Family Had Problems. And every book was about family drama. That was that month's display. And so it's all of these, paintings, sometimes with their frame, sometimes without. Sometimes I put a frame on it and then I printed the picture. And that was what we did. Well, at the end, every librarian was like, this is too nice to throw away. Gloria, you want to take it home? And I was like, yes, I do. So that is now hanging up among our paintings and framed photography and stuff is that one of like, you could literally make a collage of like paintings that you like that are part of your aesthetic, for instance. And print color pictures of them, or maybe they're in black and white, whatever, and make a collage of that in a frame, in an actual picture frame. Where did the picture frame come from, Glory? A garage sale. It was $20 as long as you agree to take away all of my picture frames out of this garage. It was, 47 picture frames of all sorts of sizes, and none of them were that good a quality, but they weren't terrible. They just were cheap, right? They were okay. That's where all these picture frames came from. You just get yourself a frame. Hello, long time no see.
Oh yeah, and other framing hacks. My dad, everybody in my family is an artist, a creative person of some kind. My dad paints, or painted. He used to, at least. I don't know if he does. He doesn't much anymore, but paints massive, like bigger than a small child. You could fit a small child into a box made of these paintings. And to finish him off, he never would buy frames. He would get edging, like the borders around rooms, and just that thick, just that much, just enough to make it look finished.
Yep.
And it cost $3. He spent more on the board than the frame, because framing can get expensive.
Oh yeah,
especially when you're working on a big scale. And what my mom did that was really good was she took a cork board and just took colorful, fun printed duct tape and just re-edged it, and it made it look so much prettier. She got so many compliments in her craft room for it.
Again, it's like filling that background. It's like, yes, I meant to do this, and in the back of people's minds, that's what it communicates. Just framing it, just duct tape even.
Mounting it on just a bigger piece of black paper, learning how to do matting, which involves like getting a self-healing mat and X-Acto blades. Like there is some threshold there, but like just a bigger piece of black paper.
You can go to stores who do mounting and just have them cut it for you. And I think it's like here, I want to say it's like $2 a cut. So if you already have the mounting material in, like, however you have it, for whatever reason you have it, you can just go to them and go, I want you to cut this size hole in this shape at this angle, because you can get, mounted cut at various degrees, and they'll do it for a nominal fee.
And like, I live in the middle of BFE, and we are all like just crafty enough to say, I'm not paying for that, for any of it. I was like, what can you DIY? A surprising amount on a budget. My sister did for Christmas decorations, took a bunch of white hangers and organized them in just a specific way. It looked like giant snowflakes. Like nice. She said on Pinterest, giant snowflakes. For other holiday decor, you take your pictures off the wall and wrap them and hang them back up. Like that costs you a roll of wrapping paper.
Yeah, all it is looking for something purposeful. They just want to see
Also,
intention.
yeah, I want to point out, like, there are wonderful videos on YouTube about how anyone can paint anything.
Contact
We
me.
love the Art Sherpa. We're a huge fan of her. She has an entire series about Q-tip painting. How to paint with Q-tips, so you don't even need to buy paintbrushes. And there's some really cool stuff, like trees in various seasons, and all sorts of other stuff that are just done with Q-tips or cotton buds. There's so many other artists on YouTube that show you step by step in real time, and will live stream it, of taking you by the hand painting. So you could just honestly purchase when the canvases are on sale at a supply store, and just paint yourself with acrylics, whatever it is you want. And when someone goes, "Oh, that's so nice," like, "Thank you, I did that myself."
Or
And then stop talking. Don't tell them anything more.
Oh yeah.
Don't say it's just a little thing. No, you just say, "Thank you, I painted myself," and stop. Don't like clearance rack their compliment.
There's a lot of stuff you can, like, contact paper. You can buy contact paper samples on Amazon, and I did that once I rebacked my bookshelf because it was just looking kind of stale and dark. So I took this like bright blue floral stuff and just did it on the back of a bookshelf, and it brightened the whole room up. When you go to the hardware store to get your paint chips, you can buy sample sizes. Now I have a pint I used of one shade to do a dresser, and then I got a sample size, which was literally just this much.
It's just a little thing. It's like a cup. Less than a cup.
Yeah, just like a cup, and it goes way further than you think.
Oh, it'll go pretty far, yeah.
Yeah, like I love to do dumpster diving and curbside pickup for furniture pieces and redo them, and just $5 for a little tin of paint like that.
Yeah, what we did with that once was we bought a set with my roommates. We bought a little kitchen dining table and matching chair set, except all the legs, it was all like aluminum tubing, and they had corroded. So we had it outside, lightly sanded it, not like really, because you don't want airborne, but we cleaned it, let it dry, and then we just painted over it with metallic paint. I think we just used chrome on that one because we just, we liked the color scheme, but we didn't want rust. Also rust will grow. So we painted over it. It literally took us, it took me, because I ended up doing it by myself, an hour to do all the legs of all the chairs. It was totally dry and cured within, really it was dry within 2 hours. I left it out on the back porch for a day just to make sure it cured, because I don't like VOCs. I'm very sensitive to them. Never had another problem with it. In fact, I loved it better than a lot of the other paints, because when it dried, it was really dry. It wasn't tacky for several days. That drives me nuts. It's so humid down here that it's like you have to triple however long it says before it cures, because the humidity delays all. No, this stuff dried. All those metallic paints that you get in those little cup size or half a cup, they really do look and act, because they do actually contain that metal in a suspension form. Of course, you'd always want to be ventilated, but it really does work appropriately. And so you don't even have to throw away old furniture. You can just honestly repaint it with metallic paint. It's like maybe instead of aluminum, that sort of chrome look, we could have painted it copper, which I think we ended up doing with something else, some other piece of furniture. And then I was like, oh, this copper is so pretty. It was very shiny, yeah. And then because it had real copper in it, eventually some of the copper started the verdigris. Some of it started tinting green, so there were little flecks of green on the metallic, and it was like so pretty, and no one thought that this was fake paint. It didn't look. I had no skill, and I have the hand-eye coordination of a 3-year-old. Has been tested. So if I can do it, I promise everyone else really can do it, with ventilation, of course.
And there's, because of the BFE and just creative enough and broke enough, you can do anything with just about anything. Like, if you think, I would like to try to do this, you can. Just, you have to be willing to put in the time and rage sometimes. But you can do anything out of duct tape. You can do anything out of contact paper and anything out of apple barrel paint. It will just take several coats of the apple barrel paint. But do not knock apple barrel, ever. I will come for you.
That's the wall Eva was talking about of comic art.
Mhm.
Nice.
And yeah, it's just, but putting frames around things really does help them stand out.
Mm-hmm.
But just even simple ones, just, you know, plastic bars around the outside just to give it a frame helps. Versus, you know, hanging them, you know, just posting them on the wall like a poster.
What I used to do whenever we'd have company over when I was a teenager, we lived in an apartment complex that had a whole bunch of crepe myrtle. And I would go outside with a pair of kitchen scissors and just cut off like a few twigs. They weren't like really trimming their crepe myrtles properly anyway, so, and the apartment manager did not care. But also, I wasn't doing so much on any one tree. I was like one to this tree, another one to this tree, because there were tons of these crepe myrtles in this apartment complex. And so, depending on the time of year, sometimes they had buds on them, and I'd squeeze the little buds so you could see the little flowers just popping out. You know, and then versus in the summer when they would be in full bloom, again, I just clip a little bit. In the wintertime, I would clip these bare twigs and put them in various cups, a bowl. Sometimes I would just artistically float it in a baking pan with a couple paper flowers floating in the water.
Mm.
People were like, wow, you've got a real artist here. And I'm like, I was literally just trying to make this house not look quite so trashy. Mission accomplished. But people were like, this is amazing and so cool. And I mean, yes, I guess there was a little bit of art to it, but mostly I was just trying to make it look like we care in this house versus most of the time when we're like, whatever. You really can just go outside if you live in nature. Like if you know, and it just literally clip a couple twigs off of a bush. I have done this, you know, like hedges. You just clip a couple that look like they're growing a little too much, put them in a cup, any kind of cup, a mug. I've done this in a mug. And it's just greenery, but it looks nicer on a coffee table. It looks put together. Start thinking about how you could bring nature in. Even, yeah, okay, it only lasts for a week, even in water, but actually, it usually lasts us 2 weeks, honestly, but no. And it does change the sort of whole atmosphere of a room to bring a little bit of nature inside. If, of course, that works with your aesthetic. But as I said, like, all of that's just growing outside anyway. Yes, I have been known to take a bowl outside and just pick all the nice fallen leaves, anything I found, anything on the ground. And there is a bowl, a glass bowl or a clear plastic bowl. They're at Dollar Tree for $1, y'all. And people are like, oh, so artistic. Like, well, yes. And then for Christmas, same bowl of leaves. I then put a couple Christmas balls in. Is done. Y'all, it's done. I'm just saying that. Or, and I have done this as well with the fallen leaves, just put like an apple, maybe a pear in there, you know, autumn specific fruit. And again, people are like, this is so aesthetic. Look at this. This is so cool. And I'm like, yes, thank you so much. You really don't have to spend anything, and it doesn't have to take a lot of rage effort necessarily if you don't have that to spend. I know I haven't always had the energy to just push and get it done. It's just more like, what is the minimum I can do to survive? But you really can still live in a more cultivated atmosphere of your own style and aesthetic that really reflects who you are and how you are on the inside. It doesn't have to take a lot of money. Honestly, it doesn't really have to take any money. I have been known to put a piece of colored paper on the coffee table and then dramatically display twigs and leaves. Yes, I have done it. And I did not say a word. And people are like, oh, I thought that was the most beautiful thing here. I dared not ask to take it home. Y'all, it was just colored construction paper. You know, a pack of 100 for $2 construction paper. And then I covered it like, just putting the twigs and leaves and various leaves. The leaves did not match all over it. And maybe one apple or one teeny tiny pear. And a few, this is true, a few Mardi Gras coins. People thought we were big to do people and had paid a lot of money for this. And it's like, I was throwing random things on that piece of paper. It looks pretty now. It's fine. Nobody say a word. Because nobody saying a word is one of the keys to, I meant to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing that out there. Houseplants do go a long way to make a room cozy.
Spider plants.
I'm not good at keeping.
And then, even, the class of always having stuff for people to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Of, having photographs, especially ones of people you like or people you've met, is a great way to always have conversation pieces around.
Yes. And again, if one image doesn't seem enough, you can collage it. Even if we're talking about family snapshot vacation photos. One image, it may look like just a straight old snapshot. Without context, the picture doesn't seem significant or interesting. But when you essentially make a collage of it, there's then a story being told. And that communicates to your visitors as well as to yourself, because they have found that when people are surrounded by pictures of the people they love and who love them, they do feel more loved than when people are deprived of those images of their loved ones. So it is probably a good thing psychologically if you do find ways to have photos or images of you with the people who love you, or just the people who love you, somewhere where that you see them often, for your own mental health benefit.
Yeah, I have something like that in my office. There was a greenhouse someone my mother knew took apart and gave my mom all the shelves. So I absconded with a couple of the wire shelves, spray painted them gold, hung them up on my wall, and I just used clips. Another one you could do for creative and aesthetic ways to hang those up without damaging your pictures is the cork board, cover it with fabric this time, hang it up on the wall, put the pins in, and string. And they have little teeny tiny baby clothespins that big.
Yes.
You can get them that big, and they just clip right on.
They also will sell the little LED lights with the clips as well, so you can highlight the images. I've seen those for very low prices on Amazon and in all of the big stores like Walmart, Target, and so on. So it is a very nice way to display those images, even when you don't have the time and energy to frame them or anything else. You still hang those, and it's a very nice way to display.
And if you need to get the pictures printed, I always get mine done at Walgreens. And if you do it online, you can do it when there's a sale. Select pay with cash, and they will just hold it there. They've held pictures there for me for 3 months before.
Oh, wow.
Before I came in, okay, I ordered $300 worth of pictures during a 50% off sale. I had $0. 3 months later, I have $150 worth of pictures now. They didn't care. As long as they got bought and paid for eventually.
Wow.
And there are always really good sales at Walgreens for the pictures. And the quality is pretty good.
Good to know.
And if you select pick up in store, you can order when they have the sale and pay for it later at sale price.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess that's what I would have to say about home decor. I originally kind of got into, well, what is decor? So there I was, 18 years old. My first car was a 1985 Crown Victoria. But Glory, they didn't make Crown Victorias in 1985. Yeah, it was a cop car. And it had dark brown interior, also called turd brown. And it had tan exterior. And it floated to a stop. We called her the land yacht. And I hate brown. Now I don't hate it anymore, but at the time I really did not like this turd brown color. It really did look like. But it was very comfy. Like, you would not believe how comfy it was to sit. It had fantastic suspension because it used to be a sheriff's car. So I was like, how am I going to make this where I don't hate it? And I realized that I could buy like the brown would work really well with leopard print. And I found at Claire's and Torrid and what was that other one? Was it called the Underground or something? Do you remember that other store?
It was the Underground.
It was the Underground. They were really big into leopard print at the time and cheetah print and giraffe print and all this. So I would take any of these tan and brown printed animal prints that, were in like they were little accent pillows, teeny tiny things. And they had like these little animal print, cheap, thin throw blankets. Y'all, I redecorated that car. Like, it went from to when people would go inside. Like, I even had an animal print cover on the steering wheel. And they were like, oh, wow, this is swank. All I did was I spent about $45 total in 1999 money to buy on sale. The most expensive thing was the $15 for the steering wheel cover. And like these little throw blankets and these little throw accent pillows in the back because it was bench seating, both the front and the back. And people are like, oh, this is so nice in here. Ooh, I even had an animal print. It's like a trash bag for the back of the seat. It would hang from the neck rest. And it had a little Velcro. Yeah. And it hung from the back of the passenger side seat for people in the back seat to throw things away. And like, it wasn't exactly matching, but essentially it all kind of coordinated together. And people treated riding in my car totally differently. People didn't track in mud anymore. They're like, oh, wait, it's decorated in here. Hold up. Let me clean my shoes first. But that is the effect that style has on everyone else. It signals, hey, I give a shit. You should too. So I realized that, most people who would be watching this are probably exhausted and or chronically ill and probably definitely neurodivergent. And it's like, but why should I care? I don't care what other people think. I know, but I want people to treat you well and with respect. And one of the easiest nonverbal ways to do it, so you don't have to have a conversation about boundaries, is to signal that you respect yourself and that you have created an entire look. You've gone to the trouble to do this. Nobody just happens to have fully coordinating throw pillows and a throw blanket and a coordinating matching trash bag and steering wheel cover. That doesn't just happen. You have to go to O'Reilly's or AutoZone for that. Like, it signals, and so does like working on your home decor aesthetic so that it all kind of coordinates together and it looks like you meant to do it. It also kind of signals to the back of your brain, hey, I meant to do this. And now I did it. Look at me. And look what I'm capable of. I am capable of influencing my environment in a way that I find pleasing. It's really good for mental health. And it's really good for your mental health because it influences how other people treat you in a respectful way, which is really good for your mental health.
And even when it's just for yourself, like any amount of customization will make you feel better about the space you're in.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just, I have a perfectly good overhead light right there, but I also have this old ass lamp.
Yes.
That brings me so much joy. I cannot, like, my dad moved recently and he was like, I don't know what to do with this lamp. I want to get rid of it. It is old and ugly. It looks like 1970 something. I'm like, I have loved this lamp since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And now it lives on the bed and it makes my room a happier place.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are struggling because we spend so much time at home right now with a room in particular, there are ways to customize it for next to nothing.
Yes.
Before at one point I took a sample size of contact paper and put it on top of my laminate counter so it stopped being this like ugly green color and it had like a faux marble finish and it made the room so much nicer to be in. You can get contact backsplashes that just stick there and it makes it better. And it costs $7 for a roll of like a sample roll of contact paper.
Well, you can even buy contact tile for backsplashes and such. And I have seen them on clearance for literally a few dollars, like $1, $2, $3 for a pack. And a pack is 18 inches long. And you just literally take them off the little set because they're all kind of a little bit separate and just put them in. And you can put them over other tile. They stick to it, but you can then remove them. You can peel them back off. And the peel actually will remove it. It's because of the material. It doesn't like leave marks or leave part of the foam or something gross. I've heard actually really good things from people who were in rentals who are like, yeah, and then when we left, we peeled them off because I liked it so much I was taking it with me. And it didn't even leave a residue. We were all set with the goo gone. Didn't need it, which I think was wonderful. But again, like, you don't have to live in misery, but you are going to need to make that first step of intent.
I absolutely hate this apartment. This apartment has done nothing but harm me. But there are pieces of furniture here, like my dresser. I painted that while I lived here. There is a bookshelf that I rescued from my niece, and it took so long because she had like nail polish this thick on it in places. Like it took 4 different changes of the sander. And I painted it in a different color than my dresser, but in the same kind of family. Like I took the paint chip from the dresser to do the thing. And just they're in different rooms, but I look at them and go, this is my aesthetic.
Let's say one of the real secrets to staying optimistic and everything is to have agency. And part of the way you can signal to yourself you have agency is changing your environment to suit you. You know, figure out what aesthetic you enjoy and start adding little piece by piece to it. And, you know, you'll probably find that you can relax more and more there. And that is part of what the style goes with. And also, once you become known for that, people will also start helping you of, hey, I saw this.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I found this. Or, hey.
That happened with the car. Once I had bought the steering wheel cover and the trash bag that had cheetah print on it, y'all, it was a wild bag. My friends were like, what is this? What is happening? I see now you have 2 pieces and they're both cheetah print. And I was like, oh, well, I figured I can't afford to change the upholstery in here. Even the upholstery above was turd brown, y'all. I was driving inside a turd is what it felt like. But I said, like, well, I figured it would work with it. And, you know, it's my first car. I own her. I love her. Like, she feels great. People love riding in it because, like, you could fall asleep in the back. A 6'2" man was able to fully stretch out and sleep in my back seat while I drove, and was like, woke up and was like, "What do you mean we're in another state?" And I was like, "You slept for 2 hours and 45 minutes, my dude." And he's like, "My God, this is better than I've ever slept in my own bed." That's how really comfortable it was, the back of that cop car. And like, so I was like, I want it to, not feel like I'm being punished when I own this car. I want to feel like it's, mine. And so my friends, anytime they would be out and they saw something in cheetah or giraffe print, any of the brown tan prints, they would buy it, especially if it was like under $5, and be like, "Hey, you want this?" Hey, that's how I got the throw blanket. Somebody got it at a garage sale. Somebody had like kind of rage converted somebody else's bomber jacket that was in cheetah print or giraffe print or something, and converted it into a throw blanket out of rage. I don't know. I do not know this story. And then they were selling it, like, take it away for $3.50. And my friend saw it and was like, "This would be perfect in my friend's car." And they were like, I think they had it marked $10. They're like, "If you give me $3.50, you can take it now." And she was like, "Here is your money. Bye-bye." And they gave it to me, and I was like, yes. It looked fantastic in my car. And I would like lovingly drape it over like part of the back seat, and the back seat, like the back dash. And people were like, "Oh, I thought that was like a pimp mobile or something. It looks so well decorated." And then to see you driving it. Look, also, I love this Crown Vic because I could outrace any pony car. Other men had the nerve to drive up next to me at the stoplights and rev their engine at me. And I'm like, okay. And then leave them in my dust, because this thing did 0 to 60 in nothing. The engine had been entirely reworked by the guy I bought it from. Like, he had spent 2 years. This is how he dealt with the grief of his father dying, was he took apart this engine, cleaned every piece, and put it back together. And it was the mechanic I hired to check this car out before I bought it said, "It is the quietest Ford I have ever heard in my entire life." Just to give you an idea. Like, this baby, she didn't purr. She was silent. She was a silent killer. So I had every reason to love this car. It just felt, though, like it looked like I was driving inside a turd. And so that was how I changed my experience, by decorating it like, no, I meant to do this. Nobody has to know that I did not personally order this color of upholstery. It would not show dirt, at least. But it wouldn't show any blood. There's a story there. I'll tell it later. But so I'm just saying, like, it was how I sort of regained mastery over my situation. And it really did feel so good. And people treated her very differently after that. Like, believe me, people used to beg me to drive them around in my car. What? In the land yacht? Yes. She was a land yacht because she floated to a stop. She could beat a pony car from 0 to nothing, but she floated to a stop. There was no stopping on a dime, y'all. She's like, "No, I was going, and then you have to like arrange with me for this stop." So I did eventually learn parallel parking her too. But nevertheless, like, it made an entirely different experience. And then, what was it, like 3 years later, Mom loved that car so much she insisted I sell it to her for the same price I paid for it. Like, so I'm just like saying, it communicated to other people too. That is what expressing one's personal style does, is people then value your style even more. It's kind of a powerful thing if you think about it. And so we all got here together in the hopes of helping everybody kind of pump you up a little bit, and maybe help you see how it doesn't have to feel like a chore.
It's okay if it does, though. It's okay if on occasion it does. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong.
I mean,
I'm about to sit here and like spend 30 minutes with my hands like this to make my hair the way I like my hair. And it's okay that I'm going to not be happy the whole time.
Because you're still going to like the results.
Yes. Like, I hate the way my hair is naturally, but I'm willing to sleep with wire and foam in my hair to make it do what I want it to. Like, it is okay.
I mean, if you're into masochism, yes, you can have that with your style. I'm not telling you no. Some people are into it. That's cool. That's cool. Suffer for your art, absolutely. If you wish to suffer, it's an option.
Coke cans.
It's not a requirement, though. And everything doesn't have to be suffering. It's just, it is about expressing yourself. Here's the thing, like, of all the people that I've helped with their style, and it's really more like, it's honestly like therapy sessions where it's like, well, how would you prefer to look when you see yourself in the mirror? How would you prefer your living room to look when you get home? And then helping them either creatively brainstorm solutions or just like physically helping them move furniture in and out or something. People have seen the transformative effect of essentially expressing your style more openly. And they're like, yeah, people literally treat me different, or they treat coming to my house different. I didn't expect that. And that is the part that I really want people to understand of. There is a transformative effect, both internally and the way the outside world treats you. So it's something that can happen for you. It doesn't necessarily need to cost anything or to suffer, although, again, suffering is an option if you wish to opt in. So it's something to think about. In part of that adulting, all of adulting does not have to feel like a punishment, but adulting definitely can feel like an expression of who you really are, rather than, again, a burden you don't have a say about. Part of expressing your style is being a grown-up, is being an adult. Eva says, for me, it's minimal and intentional. Those are my goals in decor. I want things to have a place and house tasks to take the least amount of time possible. I agree. Everything needs a home.
Yeah,
what do you
think? Yeah, like finding those things, like even if it is an effort, like getting your hair to look the way you want it to look, it's not as difficult though to get it done because you like what you're going to end up with.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's ordering you to do it. You're not being forced, or it's not against your will. It is your choice to do this.
Yes. And most everything that is uncomfortable, you will figure out if it's worth it or not. And you'll figure out if there's ways to make it more comfortable. Like I have these bitches, which these are actually like really cool because it's just literally a piece of wire and a piece of foam. And what I do, and I will do one real quick, do my bangs.
I'll say, I don't know if anyone who ever goes back to those old foam rollers after
I like
they pick
foam
up.
roller.
I have seen.
What do you need the foam rollers for, Glory?
Like
when I used to have bangs.
Yeah, like when my bangs are shorter, I have to use the foam rollers. But like it's just a piece of wire bent around a pillow.
Yeah. I used to have those.
I have so many. I even have a freaking hair rat that I can't use now that I have bangs again. But like I even sat one day because I got like a defective batch of these, and there's blanket stitches around them because the wires were poking out.
Yeah. For me, mine, some of the wires broke and then they poked through. This was like 20 years ago, so.
Yeah, my mom hates any and every hair thing because she was a small girl child in the 70s and had like 14 and 15-year-old aunts that lived with her. So guess who was a doll?
Mm-hmm.
My mom had to sleep with like full Coke cans in her hair at one point, allegedly, according to her. I want to call BS on that, but
Around here, they didn't really do the Coke cans as much as they did the orange juice cans. But yeah.
Yeah,
I think about them every time I make frozen concentrated orange juice. Like, every time.
Like, I'll use the foam rollers on like the back of my head sometimes, but because I'm like a side face sleeper, I sleep like this. Having the pillow, I'm literally sleeping on extra pillows.
I can't say anything. I'm just very lazy. Do you remember the curls I used to do, Glory? What I found, though, was like truly finger curls and a little bit of a product at the end to keep them together. And just...
Yeah, I used to use that hair wax. That was like, originally there wasn't any hair wax for curls, so the hairdresser was using mustache wax in his hair to make the curls.
Yeah, you can use rags, Megan. But it's a different result.
Yeah, because the foam gives it a little bit more fluff to it, or a little bit more volume.
Yeah. Eva could do pin curls. That's too much effort for me, even though it's probably the most comfortable. It's just too much effort.
Used to braid my hair into tiny little braids, and in the morning see how much volume I could get. Sometimes it was a disaster. But I did find oddly when I was doing the finger curls, that if I would actually not just finger curl, but then actually pull tightly to squeeze most of the water out, because I just do it after showering, it would actually hold better.
Oh, no. No.
First time I tried, I got a set of the foam rollers, so I have like some even smaller than this. And when my hair was above my shoulder, like 2 cuts ago, I did it entirely in the smaller ones, and oh no, it was.
I was gonna say, like, that's straight up, Little Orphan Annie.
Yeah, that's what I look like.
Curls. Like, that's what I've eventually have learned is those curls do not end up as fluffy as you expect from the size of those foam rollers. Like, you really have to get like 2 sizes bigger just to get the size curl you're looking for. Yeah. Not that we have not occasionally seen someone who they wanted that Orphan Annie curl.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine on occasion. But you got to be going for it. I was going for like 1940s waves. It's like, is this gonna work? No, for several reasons. But
Glory has accused me of doing the 1940s wave on purpose. And it's like, nope. Turns out that's just what my hair is. Got it from my grandma.
Yeah. I think that's about it on style.
I think so.
Unless anybody has final thoughts.
The only thing I did want to bring up was whenever you're looking at clothing, no matter the fashion, do check that label for, is it machine wash, hand wash, or dry clean only? Because dry clean only means if you get rain on it, it could start coming apart. Like, there are fabrics that really are just water sensitive, and it's almost
which
never
means
worth it.
Don't sweat in it either.
Yeah, we've known people who've actually like had real problems with their outfit just falling apart.
Yeah.
So I tend to go with just look for hand wash. Hand wash means it can take water, it just can't take vigorous motion. Most time, though, and especially if it's an outer thing, it's not, you don't have to deal with body sweating or anything on it.
Also, now with the power of the internet, you can literally Google what do all the label symbols mean. So you don't have to wonder, because look, I'm just saying, some of these do not, the picture they use does not automatically translate the concept to me, where I'm like, oh, is that what that's supposed to? Oh, okay. So you can honestly just Google label symbols or fabric label symbols and find the, pictures to know, what does this mean? How am I supposed to treat this? So I would honestly recommend that if you can, before you purchase, but certainly afterwards, after you purchase, so that you know how it's supposed to be treated. Do you have to treat it that way? No, not technically. It's just that is like for the best results, for the fabric to last the longest possible. That's the instructions. What if you make a mistake? Hope for the best.
Speaking of, another little thing about fashion, if you buy something new and you see a little swatch of fabric in there, that is actually to wash however you plan to wash it, and you will see what happens to that fabric. So like, with pants and dresses, you'll see beside the button that there's a swatch of fabric, and that is simply to wash like you normally would and dry like you normally would. And you can see, will this work? Before you do that to the main article of clothing. Because I know at least in the 90s and 80s, they love to do the sequin gag of washing a sequin outfit in the washing machine, and all that's left is the sequins.
Yep.
Again,
I've seen them
that is,
where they washed it, and it's just like shredded pieces, like it just unraveled, and yeah,
but again, it is actually part of your style, is you can feel comfortable in knowing what your clothes can do as well. Like, is it clothes you can work out in? Is it clothes you can do repairs in? Or is it one that's just for, more formal visiting people in the office type stuff? And it's, whatever works for you. Again, it's like aesthetics of like, are you goth? Are you goblin? What is it that, you want to do on a regular basis? Because clothes for the office are not necessarily the same as, clothes for going out in the woods.
Very true.
My goal is to remind people of their grandma.
I think you have achieved your goals today.
I think you have.
There we go.
But again, once you know what it is that is your aesthetic, it's so much easier to then see, like, will this article of clothing fit with it?
Mm-hmm.
Again, you don't have as much indecision. You don't have as much decision making to think about. It's just will that work for that?
Also, CB, I think your hair probably could do the Agent Carter type waves. It's just a matter of finding the right product, which when you're doing hair sets is the hardest part. I went through 5 different ones before I found the one I'm like determined to use forever now. Like, just versatile foam styling lotion motions. I buy it at Walmart. You can get it on Amazon. And then being willing to brush your hair out and practice.
Yeah, the waves thing is not tricky at all.
It's just finding the product that works with your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gel or the mousse that would help with it is very important for waves. Or even for victory curls or victory. Is that what they're called?
Victory rolls.
Victory rolls. That's like, I knew there's a word. But yeah, once you know what you're doing with victory rolls, it really isn't actually hard. But it does help if you have the right products for it.
Oh yeah. Like My goal for hair stuff is I want to get to a point where I'm only washing my hair once a week
Mm-hmm.
and compensating the rest of the time with products. And I can go a really long time with a really long distance with styling with the right products and not washing my hair every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just takes experimentation. So that you get more familiar with how your hair works and like what style every day it sort of morphs into.
Mm-hmm. Like, because this set with as humid as it's been, I'm gonna have to reset it tomorrow if I want to do it. Like, keep the curl thing going, or I can do updos. You can get surprisingly far with YouTube tutorials and just the willingness to look not great for a couple of days. Like, eventually you get there.
I mean, I do like YouTube for being able to actually really see visually how they're doing it. And you can pause and you can slow it down and go back. Because a lot of these are about just
Mm-hmm.
learning the hand motions and how do you apply that product. Just like painting. Of it
Mm-hmm.
really is in the wrist.
Yeah, I found for instance, since we're talking about victory rolls, getting much longer bobby pins made a huge difference in the success because my hair was longer at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I needed the larger, longer bobby pins to make this work. So I think it is about having the right tools to accomplish whatever a person is trying to do with their looks. And, honestly, some of that takes research and time. You just need to spend the time. For what I like to do and for my kind of hair, these screw curls really do make a difference for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're essentially 3-dimensional hold rather than 2-dimensional like bobby pins are. That was very helpful, as well as these tiny little octopus clips to hold my hair because of the curl and the volume. And also, I don't like when the teeth go out. It hurts my scalp.
Mm-hmm.
And these sit flat. But the side effect is they also don't move as much because they really do sit flat and flush, so they're actually more secure. It took years to find these.
Oh,
so
yeah.
much. They're not expensive. It's just finding them.
Yeah, and I have 1,000 bobby pins, and I'll use them sometimes. But I love just these things. I don't know what they're called. They're actually called. They're just the hair clippies.
I think they're just called clips. Yeah.
Yeah, they work so much better for my hair than bobby pins because bobby pins just slide right out.
Yeah, they're just called clips.
And it's like
snap clips. That's what they're called.
And we have this. I feel like especially for hair stuff, we have this idea that nothing has changed in like hair care ever. And so everything that we do to our hair now, like at the way we wash and condition it, we should still be able to do all of the things on clean hair. It's like, no. We got to use products. We got to use specific things because, even in the 40s, I'm not getting the same kind of hold or look that I should be for like a 40s thing because they just used soap.
Mm-hmm. Well, they also used beer.
Yeah.
They used beer in their hair.
I mean,
a lot. And egg whites. That was a lot of their setting lotion was actually egg whites and beer whipped together and then put in their hair as a setting product.
Mm-hmm.
And they did smell appropriately, which is why they then use such strong smelling colognes and perfumes, was to cover the smell because most of the sulfur's in the egg whites. I mean, can you imagine? Anyway, yeah, there's tools like this. This is one of the ways that when I want a sleek look, I manage the frizz in my hair and the texture. And when I want baby hairs, I use this tiny little baby comb to actually bring it forward when I want to curl it or form it. It's a lot easier to do it with the right tool than me trying to, like, if I just keep smoothing it, it'll work. No. I think this costs $4.
But again, that's the nice part about YouTube videos and BeautyTube is you can see what they're actually using to get that effect. Because yeah, they often did talk about because it was something everyone knew.
Here's a slightly larger one. I have so many of these because I use these hair combs, and again, it gives me that lovely sort of dated late 40s look.
Right, like it's just the pull little section, twist, push forward, clip, or thing. Yeah, that's one of my go-tos when I just need to get it away from my face too. So,
yeah, you just you like comb it back and then put it in, and you get a little puff, and so it gives the semblance of volume while also keeping hair out of your face. It's really about, well, what is it, how you want to look? Then yeah, there's tons of tutorials now on YouTube and elsewhere to tell you how to do it, at least for that person's texture hair. So I think it does help to know what is your hair texture. There are wonderful websites that are extensive with pictures to help every person, whether you have 1A, which I think is like straight as a board, can barely be folded hair, all the way to 4C, which is a very tight texture. So, and everything in between. I think it really does help to just spend a little time, if we're talking about hairstyle, spend a little time and be sure you know, most people have multiple hair textures, so at least 2 different kinds of hair textures. And figure out what are your hair textures. And that way, when you search, either you Google or you're on YouTube, for instance, and you could type in 1B victory rolls, or 4C pin curl waves. And how do people do that with that particular kind of textured hair? And they'll talk about the products they use and why they're using it. It's so useful if you know the looks you want to at least try. It doesn't mean you have to stick with that. It's just that you know what style. Where did I originally get this look? All right, I'm going to tell you the truth. I got this hair, the look that I've been doing for a while now, from the Queen of Hearts. Because, if I do it right, you can actually see why they did it. It's to give her that heart-shaped face. The actress and the cartoon. It was one of those productions. There it is. And you can see that heart. And then they did her makeup appropriately. But I was like, I can work with this. That's where I got the idea from, was the Queen of Hearts. But it works. It works with my face. And it draws the eye the way I want it to. And then it was just figuring out the products. How do I get this hold without it hurting or irritating? Because as I said, I don't like it to dig into my scalp. That's very uncomfortable for me. How do I get that hold without using a lot of product? Because I don't want my hair to be all weird and stiff and feel like it's not my hair. Because I like to take it down at night. I don't sleep. My mom used to joke that I do my 5K at night in bed. I'm tossing and turning my little legs back and forth. Very active in bed. So my hair, of course, also, everything's going to fall out anyway while I sleep. So it's just something to think about of, you can look the way you want to, whatever that is, as long as you know how to search for the tutorials. You can have the aesthetics you want as long as you know what it's called, so that when you're Googling ideas, you can then see people's videos. TikTok has been wonderful actually for that, which you do not have to download the app to go watch TikTok videos on your browser. So you don't have to worry about the Chinese spyware that is inherent in the app. I'm just saying. So you can still like research all the stuff as long as you know what is essentially what we talk about, the phrase that pays. If we're talking about hair, we're definitely talking about hair texture. Know what your hair textures are and what are they called so that you can include that in your search. If we're talking about, like, for instance, home decor or outdoor decor, knowing what that kind of aesthetic is called, because that's the phrase that pays right now. It's which aesthetic. It used to be called other styles, like, oh, I like the federal colonial style. That's used to be what, but that's not an aesthetic. That was just what the words that they used, like, say, in the 60s and 50s. So just knowing what those search terms are will reap far better, effective research for you, and you'll find all sorts of ideas so that you can look how you want to look, you can live how you want to live, you can be perceived the way you want to be perceived. I hope this has helped bring some kind of enrichment to your life. If you have, you know what would be cool? How about a thumb up? I'm just saying. Maybe just like give a little love, rub it a little. Anyway, I know I'm terrible. I should wrap it up. Yeah. And, you know, if you're not subscribed, hey, subscription would be cool. Maybe. Just like a little subscribe. If you're already subscribed, be sure to ring that bell so you'll get any of the odd things that we throw out there. We're going to try to do more of those shorts. And if you've done all the things, you know what would be so cool? I'm just saying, I'm throwing this out there. There's memberships now. It's a wild life, y'all. I did not see this coming a year ago. But here we are with memberships. And there are emojis. And the more memberships we get, the more emojis we're allowed to upload so that you can use it anywhere. Look, I'm a huge fan of that fat little unicorn baby eating a donut.
It is very adorable.
So cute. Oh my God. Oh, it's so fat. I just want to like nibble on its little legs. It's so chubby. So we hope you've had a wonderful time. I know these two do not enjoy intros or outros. I respect that. So I'm going to move on. But I also want you to know, did you know their links are down below? How about if you just showed up later? Their links are down below. These lovely people. Spence, Tam. They're amazing people. Next week, January 3rd, we are going to talk about coping skills. It's going to be such a cool episode. So mental, emotional, spiritual, physical coping skills. Because
for everything you've just been through.
Everything. Whatever the future holds. You know, perhaps this is your first apocalypse. Some of us have been through a few. Some of us have been through both big apocalypses and personal apocalypses. And we are still here. And we have coping skills to share so that other people can benefit. If anyone else would like to join us on screen for these, let me know. We've got 2 tentative guests, but as always, we do have more room. So we would love to hear y'all's ideas about coping skills. That's what we're going to talk about next week. And yes, in less than an hour, 35-ish minutes, we're going to be on Zara's Twitch channel, and we're going to do sprints. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be 0 full. And also, there will be an after party in our Twitch stream. Not Twitch stream, I can't talk. By our Discord server in the Clubhouse voice chat. And remember, there is an adjacent text room. If, for whatever reason, you don't feel verbal, you can also just text in that room. So we will essentially be half in and half out during Zara's stream as we do sprints with everybody. So we hope that you will join us Monday, January 3rd. I believe Colin Clark is going to try to join us for that. So I am definitely interested to hear how UK coping goes. And possibly the other Charlie. Charlie. Is that? I don't know How do you pronounce how many E's? Possibly. I don't know. So that's what we're going to do Wednesday on our Twitch channel, Glory Writes the Blues, at 9 p.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. Central European Time. We're going to, again, show our whole process of getting ready for the Monday show. If you'd like to join, that includes where we try to figure out an emotionally engaging Twitter title, and that seems to be a lot of fun for everybody in chat too, but how do you do? And everybody puts in their ideas, and together we evolve till we get like, yes, that's the good title. And we show all of that process. So we'd love for you to join us. And then on Thursday at 3:30 p.m., is that 9:30 Central Eastern Time. On Thursday, there's Coffee Buddy Cafe on Kat Leo. Ready? Or is it mine? I don't remember who's it on. No, it was on Kat's last Thursday, so it's on my channel. We hope you will join us for all the chaos. I will probably be crocheting again because, of course, make no promises, but there's coffee sometimes, there's bagels usually, there's crochet, there's crafting, there's chatting, there may be Sims. I don't know. It's chaos. It's fun chaos. Spence, would you like to plug Fairy Law Gaming?
I think he is streaming tonight. I'm not sure what he's playing, but my husband streams on Twitch at Fairy Law Gaming. He is a very wholesome and one of the kindest, weirdest, nicest beings you will ever meet. And he is very much worth watching. I don't know what he's playing tonight, though.
I mean, there's a mystery there if you want to find out. Twitch. So, is that everything? Have we remembered it all?
And I can think of.
Thank you again, everybody. We've had a wonderful time, and we're so glad that you've hung out with us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.